Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to SetAmoon.com. I'm the absentee, Joseph Dumond, and just one of the many hosts here that we have at SetAmoon.com. And I just stopped in tonight, this afternoon, your time, or the morning, whatever it is, wherever you are, to say hello and just see what's going on and see what's happening with SetAmoon.com since I've been away. So I want to thank you all for continuing to keep it going. For those who did not go away for the feast, I am still in Israel, and there are still things happening here. And that's about as much as I'm going to tell you. So please do not ask any questions because I will not tell you anything. You'll find out afterwards why, and that's all you're going to get to know. So we have been having quite a time here. I've been sick for the last 3 days. Randy wore me out. That's not Randy. The whole group wore me out. They thought I was dragging them around everywhere, making them run, but they wore me out trying to keep ahead of them. So I've just felt better finally today after 3 days of sleeping in my cabin. And I thank you for the prayers, and I thank Anita for all the whatever these things are. I've been eating them like candy. She gave me 3 bottles of them. I'm almost out. So anyway, so yeah, it's pretty good. We're going to get, no, we're not going to do that. I'm just, who? See, I'm already back in my old habit. Who's doing opening prayer?
We have Gary.
Gary. Gary Haney?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Father, we're so grateful to be able to come from different parts of the world. Your word says that where any 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, there you are in the midst of them. We know you live in us, but thank you so much for walking and being near. We're so very grateful. Father, thank you for the divine appointments that are here. It's great to hear from Brother Joseph. We pray for his healing as well in the name of Yeshua. He'll be completely restored back to good health, better than he was. And so now we humble ourselves before you. We lay everything at your feet. Be glorified and honored today in absolutely everything. And we thank you that all of your word is true. In Yeshua's name we thank you. Amen.
Amen. We have been trying to keep the Israel group on Telegram up to date as to what's going on here, and the leadership group up to date. And I know that there's information missing in both groups, and that is just the way it is. And I understand some of the confusion. That's okay. But that's the only people that have been told anything about what's going on. And I've also asked all of them to remain silent, and I put a gag order on them. So I thank them for doing that, and I thank them for adhering to my wishes. So, just so you know, there is stuff happening, and we will update you as soon as possible, but it's not possible just yet. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. So today is September 23rd already, and we have Shane going to tell me what we're doing next because I don't know.
Well, we have our sermonette.
Okay, so Robbie
Is that where you want
Guzman.
to go?
Yep, Robbie Guzman is here. He's going to give a sermonette. I don't know the subject, but I've known Robbie since he was in diapers, literally in diapers. So it's so good to see him here teaching again. I love Robbie. He's a neighbor, well, sort of a neighbor. We see each other once in a while. It's been a while though. Anyway, Robbie Guzman, if you want to take over. I don't know what your subject is today. I'm sorry. I'm just catching up. I'm tuning in here off these.
He is speaking over Isaiah 30, 20 to 21.
Awesome. Go ahead, Robbie.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let's make sure it's the right screen or the right window. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen and you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I'm just going to start the slideshow here. So I have limited time. Okay. Uh, here we go. It's just loading there. Okay, so the title of my sermonette is Lies from Our Teachers. Isaiah 30, verses 20 and 21. In the Masoretic, it says, just skipping ahead here, "Yet shall not your teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but your eyes shall see your teachers, and your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, This is the way, walk you in it, when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left." So that's the Masoretic. In the Septuagint, it reads, "Yet they that cause you to err shall no more at all draw near to you. For your eyes shall see those that cause you to err, and your ears shall hear the words of them that went after you to lead you astray, who say, This is the way, let us walk in it, whether to the right or to the left." So, two things of note. Number one, notice that they are called teachers, your teachers, whereas the Septuagint calls them those that cause you to err, to make mistakes. As well, they shall not be removed into a corner anymore in the Masoretic. However, in the Septuagint, it says they won't draw near to you anymore. They won't be allowed to approach you. One is saying, this is the way, walk you in it. Turn to the right hand or turn to the left. So their instruction is to do that. Go to the right hand, go to the left. Whereas in the Septuagint, that is the wrong way to go. And we know from the words of Yeshua in Matthew 7, "Enter at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction. And many there be which go thereat, because straight is the gate, narrow is the way which leads to life. Few there be that find it." So throughout the Old Testament, or the Tanakh, I should say, I hate using Old Testament, but in Moses and in the prophets, it's mentioned multiple times, almost pretty much 9 out of 10, that going to the left and to the right we should not do. Okay, it is not recommended. Next slide. It says here, a good analogy for going to the left or to the right is like a bowling alley, except the gutters are much wider, more like this. Let's pretend that the blue areas are the gutter, whereas the narrow way we're supposed to go to is down the middle here. Okay, so I'm going to give you the context of this verse. Well, to be blunt, it's end times. It's not. It did not happen yet. This is still to be fulfilled. It remains to be fulfilled. So I'm going to ask some questions. Do we lack teachers? Who are our teachers? There are many that teach, especially coming from the Church of God background, that these are spirit beings or angels, perhaps, that are going to lead us to the truth. But we know that throughout history, Joseph Smith in particular, the founder of Mormonism, Muhammad, the founder of Islam, they met these spirit beings or angelic-looking beings, but we could see the fruits of that. However, I believe we have a threefold truth. Number one, we have the written Torah, the letter of the law that proceeded from the mouth of Jehovah, the Father. Number two, we have the living Torah, which is the spirit of the law. It was Mashiach, Yeshua, who fully filled the Torah to the spirit, the intent of the law. And he's in the form of Jehovah the Son. And number three, we have the Parakletos, the comforter, the helper, the spirit of truth that guides us into all truth. So we have those three teachers. So I don't think we do need teachers such as spirit beings or angels to lead us into salvation issues. So more questions. What causes people to err and to go astray? Well, frankly, it's lies. And the next question is, what lies persist today? We're going to look at the three Abrahamic religions just briefly. Islam, they teach that God is not a father. God cannot beget a son. So Yeshua was not the son of God. God cannot become a man because he has no body. And Yeshua never died. It was an illusion that he died on the cross, was crucified. However, they do believe Yeshua was the Messiah. We have common ground there, and that he will return again. However, he's going to convert the world to Islam and eliminate all the faithful Christians and Jews who do not convert. Next is Christianity. So what's the lie being peddled there? Number one, the Torah was nailed to the cross. I'm talking about mainstream Christianity. That the law is done away with. It no longer applies to Christians. We are under grace, not the law. And Yeshua freed us from the law. So we're free to do whatever we want. Essentially, it's lawlessness, Torahlessness. And the third one, because the Bible is Israel-centric, I don't believe it was talking about Muslims or Christians. It's talking about the Israelites. What is the lie being pushed there? For ages, Jesus' body, Yeshua's body was stolen, is a claim that continues to this day. Yeshua was a sorcerer. He exorcised demons by the power of demons, which is blasphemy in itself. This one isn't really a lie, but it's just by default. A lot of Jews who are religious, they believe just by default, if I'm Jewish, I can't believe in Jesus. It just does not compute. And yes, there are valid questions. From this video in the bottom left, it says why Jews don't believe in Yeshua as God or Messiah. And I'm going to address some of those questions that after watching that video. I watched that yesterday, but anyway. So these are some of the questions. Number one, why did Messiah have to die first? There was no installment plan. Yeshua would die first, and he's going to come back later to save Israel. But Yeshua actually answered this. He says in Luke 24, on the road to Emmaus, "O foolish men, slow to accept all the prophets have said. Did you not know that the Mashiach would have to undergo this suffering so as to enter into his glorious state?" So then he explained to them everything the scripture said about him, beginning at Moses, the Torah, and all the prophets. Be interesting to know what scriptures he used exactly. Next question is, why did Yeshua not restore the kingdom to Israel? This is the same question his disciples had after he was resurrected. And we're actually going to read that, Acts 1. Every time the apostles got together, they kept on asking him, like children on a road trip, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Stop asking questions. Are we there yet?" So the question was, "Lord, are you going to restore the kingdom to Israel right now?" And he answered them. His answer was, "It is not for you to know times or hours, for the Father has reserved these for his own decision." Kind of left it cryptic there. So back to Isaiah. What was Israel's error? How did they make mistakes? Well, they stumbled over the stumbling block, as scripture says. So this is Paul quoting Isaiah 28. I'm just going to pull it out from there. It says, "Therefore thus says Jehovah, even Jehovah, behold, I lay for the foundation of Zion a costly stone, a choice, a cornerstone, a precious stone for its foundations. And he that believes on him," these were inserted, the ones in brackets, "shall by no means be ashamed." So who is this cornerstone? Ephesians 2 verse 20 tells us that Yeshua is the cornerstone. Next question. Why did Jehovah cause Israel to err? Answer is found in Romans 11. "So then I say, did they stumble so that they would fall beyond recovery? Of course not, or God forbid. Rather, it was so that salvation would come to the Gentiles by means of the Israelites' blunder and make the Israelites jealous. Now, if the Israelites' blunder means enrichment for the Gentiles, then how much greater enrichment for the world will result from their full restoration?" So this was by design. It was not by accident. If Israel didn't fail, a lot of us here in the Zoom meeting would not be grafted into Israel. We wouldn't have that opportunity to know Yeshua, to know the Torah. We are called to a special calling, to be part of this first fruits calling. And this is by God's mercy. Isaiah 30, in closing, Isaiah 30 verses 20 to 21, it's not talking about spirit beings or angels that will teach us truth or matters pertaining to our salvation. In fact, there's no need for these types of teachers. We have the Torah, we have Yeshua, we have the Parakletos to teach us what Jehovah expects of us, the spiritual intent of the instructions of Torah, and even the spirit of truth, which guides us into all truth. Rather, Isaiah 30 was referring to those who have led and continue to lead Israel astray. They are led astray by lies that persist today and will continue until the last days. Specifically, these are lies that have caused the vast majority of Jews to make the grave error regarding Messiah, by rejecting him as their Messiah. This was done in order for God to save the Gentiles and graft them in with Israel. As a result, we have the privilege, most of us are Gentiles here, Gentiles have the privilege and honor not only being part of the first fruits, but to live eternally with Elohim and Yeshua into the millennium and into eternity. Israel will be fully restored and all Israel will be saved. So I'm going to close with Romans 11, 25 to 27. For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. So that's all for me. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for your attention, and Maranatha.
Thank you, Robbie. I am chomping at the bit here. Does anybody have any questions for Robbie about what he just presented?
I do.
Go ahead.
Oh,
do we
I
call
guess
you lady or Candy?
I apologize. I should have raised my hand. You can
That's
call me
okay.
Candy. I've been emailing you this week.
Yes. Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you. So I actually found you 8 years ago. Ashamed to say I got called away or distracted and lost my track there. There's been a lot of things come in my life the last 8 years. Sorry, this is really emotional for me.
Candy, just so you know, we are being recorded and anybody can be watching us. So be careful what you say because it will be out in public.
Okay.
So we can do after the meeting, we turn the microphone off and we can talk about personal stuff then if you want. I'm just giving you a heads up.
Then. Okay, I will. I'll ask that question then because it is relevant to what was just shared.
Well, then by all means, ask you for what was just shared. We want to talk about that.
Okay, so what I comprehended from what you were sharing there was that we're not to that if we have angels or someone talking to us, that's not where we're supposed to get the teaching from. So at least that's what just came to me. So my confusion or question is that last week I'm in Canada, Western Canada, and at the end of Sabbath and the beginning of the first day of awe, that night I had I was awakened several times throughout the night between 1 and 5 a.m. out here. And I had this, I would just say a visitation of some kind that said, you have no oil. And I found myself walking around my house I would wake up and I'm looking in my Bible. And then I would fall, I was reading something and then I went back to bed. And then I had another, something that woke me up and it was kind of a blur between the two. And then I woke up and I was on your website where it said, it is not a commandment. It was a riddle, not a commandment. And talking about, do you have oil? And that was what was right in front of me. When I woke up, I was literally on your website. When I woke up, it was kind of half and half. And this whole week, I have read so much of your stuff and feel called back to where I was supposed to be. And it has been the most profound experience. And I've had a lot of them with him. So I wanted to understand the difference between what you were saying there about not having that kind of a teacher, versus the experience that I had last week.
Did you want me to answer that?
Yes, Robbie, this is your ball.
Okay. Well, specifically, when we're looking at Isaiah 30, it's referring to Israel and in the context of the end times. So I'm not saying that all angelic apparitions are false. I'm talking about specifically in this verse in the context of the end times. But one thing that's important that comes to mind regarding spiritual apparitions or angels, perhaps, is that we should test all the spirits, and we test them with the Torah as a litmus test. So if what they're telling you agrees with Torah, then yeah, we should listen to them. But if it doesn't, it contradicts it, and contradicts that Yeshua is the Messiah, for instance, then yeah, then you shouldn't listen to those spirits. But always test the spirits, and as the Sighted Moon slogan, prove all things. That's very, very instructive, and we should always keep that in mind.
Thank
That
you.
answers.
Yeah, right on, Robbie. There are too many people that go chasing after anything and everything that's spiritual. Yeah. And they just go from place to place to place to place, and they're the Spirit told me here, the Spirit told me there, and they're following the Spirit everywhere they go. And when you sit down to talk to them about what John said or what Matthew or what Isaiah said, they're basically brain dead because the Spirit never taught them the Bible. It's like I don't know, butterflies. They just fly from place to place, but they don't pick up any meat. They don't become something strong in the Word. And I'm not trying to degrade butterflies, but we got to test the spirits. We got to watch what we're following. Too many people follow the wrong stuff, but they won't read the Bible. You have to read the Bible. You can't follow everything that Joe Dumont says. You got to read the Bible. You got to follow what Jehovah says, and you got to prove what he says. If anything, I'm giving you maybe some clues to connect the dots, but you got to follow him. Yeah. And that's the main thing. So, I don't believe in dreams, yet I've had a number of dreams, and people dream about me that I keep in the back of my head, and I'm watching them, but they're not guiding my life. So the Torah is guiding my life. The reason I'm here is because of the Torah. The reason I'm here in this room with you guys is because of Torah. So you got to follow that. Anyway, that's a good question, Candy. Thank you.
Can I add to what you just said,
yeah.
Joseph?
Go ahead.
So, yeah, and a lot of people who do read the Bible, for instance, professors of theology, they have a very, they have expansive knowledge on the Torah, on the Tanakh, on all the scriptures. However, because they don't obey it, they don't keep it, they're lacking that spiritual understanding. And it even says in scriptures, those who those who keep the commandments, there's great, they have wisdom when you keep the command as a result of keeping the commandments. I'm paraphrasing, but I think it's in Proverbs, I'm not sure.
Okay, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah.
And Brian, just before you start, I don't think I mentioned, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Eric. I don't know if Eric's here yet.
Yep, he's here.
Oh yeah, there he is. Yeah, okay, ready for an argument. Okay. No, I want to thank you both, and everyone else who's carried on the meetings here while we were gone. So, it's not easy, and I know that you now know how not easy it is. So I just want to say thank you for doing that and stepping in and just making it all work. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Robbie, I want to just thank you. It was a very nice presentation. I like the graphics and all. It was very nicely presented. You did mention one question there. Why do the Jews not accept Messiah or Yeshua? They look for the Messiah, but they don't accept Yeshua as Messiah. And something I tried to explain to I had a moment to speak to a church one time and explain to them that when they referred to Jesus as doing away with the law, and the law was crucified with him on the cross, and we don't have to keep the law, I said, well, that's the first thing the Jews are looking for, the Messiah to come and teach the law perfectly and completely. So the very premise that the Christians use, that Jesus has done away with the law, sort of nullifies their argument and sort of prevents any kind of further advancement towards teaching somebody of the Jewish faith that Yeshua is the Messiah by the very premise that they come up with. So I just want add to that because for clarification, from what I've, like I say, from what I've experienced, that it was
No,
what we use to go to battle with. Sometimes we got the wrong armor on, and we need to make sure we got the right swords in the sheath before we start slinging and cutting people's heads off.
yeah,
So,
no, 100%. Can you hear me right now?
yeah.
100%. I agree with you 100% because, for instance, I was in college and there was someone from Israel, ethnic Jew in my part of my group, part of my class, but he wasn't religious. He wasn't observing the feast days or keeping any of the commandments. And I asked him, "Are you not fasting tomorrow? It's the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur." He said, "Why are you fasting? You're not Jewish." And I said, "Well, I don't know. Yeshua or Jesus did this. I'm just doing it because he did it." And he said, "Oh, you make me feel so guilty. I think I'm going to fast tomorrow because of you." So what you said rings very true. A lot of mainstream Christianity, they don't believe the law applies to them. So how can they witness to the Jews? However, with Messianics and Hebrew roots individuals, when the Jews see that Yeshua actually was a Jew, he was Torah observant, not just to the letter but to the spirit. It's a greater witness to them, and would perhaps they would uh, believe in Messiah. It is a big stumbling block. The fact that a lot of Christians say Torah is done away with, and that's just not true. So thanks for sharing that.
If I can follow up on what Robbie just said, I was on a Sharut coming from the airport here in Israel, and this guy was all upset because we were late and Shabbat was about to begin and our plane was late. And, all this panic. And then he asked me why I was here, and I said I'm keeping the feast. And he noticed my tzitzits on. He says, "Why are you wearing those?" He says, "Because we're told to." And he says, "Are you a Christian?" I said, "Not exactly." He said, "Do you believe in Yeshua?" I said, "Well, I believe that he kept the commandments and he kept the feast. And so, yeah, that one I believe in, not the one that did away with the law." After that, the guy came up and sat beside me and started talking about Yeshua because he also kind of believes, but he's having trouble with the Jesus did away with the law guy. But the ones that keep the Torah, that's the one that they're interested in. So, yeah, it's a great point you made, Brian. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. I thought that was very good what you taught, Robbie. And I don't speak up much, but I liked it. So I thought I'm going to speak up and compliment you. It was very good. And add on a little bit to encourage others. There's an observation in the book of Judges. Some people think it's a criticism, other people think it's a compliment, but it says in those days, there was no king and everyone did as they saw fit. When I read that in my personal life, I seen that as, hey, that's freedom. We don't have a king right now. Sure, people might say, well, Jesus is your king or King Charles is our king. But I looked at my own life and thought, I need someone's got their mic open. Yolanda, your mic's open. Be embarrassed. So, yeah, we don't have a king. But if you back up a little bit in Joshua, we see that Joshua says, hey, as for me and my house, we'll serve God. And that's something as a dad, as a man in your house, you can do. And for everyone that read the Torah this sabbatical year, it's like loading up, your storehouse with teaching. You can teach your family. You will have a blessing. What you said, Robbie, about by reading the Torah and doing it, and there's a blessing. You mentioned Proverbs. I couldn't remember where it was in Proverbs, so I read that too. You have that as a man in your household. And it's amazing. I don't understand it myself. And so my wife's like, I don't know how you know this knowledge. I'm like, I read it and just remembered. And that wasn't me because I'm super good at remembering. That's the blessing of Jehovah. So we have that. And, I notice in religious circles, I see more women than men at church and even in meetings online and stuff. And this is just kind of telling men, hear what Robbie said, realize there's no teachers and you can be that teacher. So go back and watch what Robbie said again in the YouTube. You can be that teacher to your family and there will be a blessing there that's amazing. So just wanted to add that on because it in my life, that's what happened to me. I did. It wasn't a church thing. It was, I read the Bible, did it and said, I'm going to do this in my family and it's worked.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Eric.
Yeah, I like to kind of add on to what Robbie said before, and I thought he did a great job. But you know, even if you know the law, and I can point out one classic one, which is everyone knows about the Shabbat. But just because you know about the Shabbat doesn't mean that you have a right to change it.
Oops. Sorry, Eric, I just muted you. That me
That's
hit
right.
the wrong button.
That's right. That's all right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just because someone knows about the Shabbat doesn't mean that you can move it around. And that's what we have done because we ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We keep thinking that we're equal to God and we can move his Shabbat. And it's like we don't have that right. And we have an entire group of people that think, oh, every day is the Shabbat. That's not what God said. God said there's a particular day that's the Shabbat. And he says the Shabbat was made for man. Man was created on the sixth day. And he says man was not created for the Shabbat, but the Shabbat was created for man. So if man was created on the sixth day, and there are 7 days to a week, the Shabbat, being feminine, is for us to enter into. The only day of the week that the Shabbat can exist is on the seventh day. You can't change that. And so if you put it on 1 through 5, you're saying that man was made for the Shabbat. The sequence is out of order. So that's what I try and explain. Just because you know about the law, you have to apply the law correctly. So you judge justly, you apply the law lawfully. So there's always going to be, you know, the truth, but how to apply it is given through revelation of the Ruach. If you don't have the Ruach, if you don't have that Spirit of the Lord directing you and telling you how to apply the law correctly, then you're going to probably more than likely miss the mark because you're going to put in your opinion, your way of looking at it, your way of doing it. So yeah, know the law, write it on your hearts and minds, but apply it led by the Spirit. That's what we're all called to do. And that's the reason why we can have one verse and we have 14 different interpretations, because we're not listening to what the Spirit is trying to teach us. So that was it.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, I'm not going after Robbie. I want to pull something out that he brought up twice. And I don't know if he knows it, but I think you might find this very interesting. He brought up Romans 11 a couple times. And do you have the slides there? Can you just read what the 2 slides? Do you have them handy? I didn't have my pad ready to write down. Romans 11, you're talking about jealous, making Israel jealous from the Gentiles. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Provoke them to jealousy, that one? I think it's worded differently depending on
Romans 11? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm throwing this out there. Do you know what that means? How is he going to do that? It says, Paul actually says
I'm not going to pretend to know the answer.
Well, Paul gives you the answer. He's quoting Deuteronomy. Eric, go ahead.
Okay.
My opinion on that is, I think what I've found is, while we're keeping the feast, a lot of the Jewish people think that the feast are theirs. And they're asking, why am I keeping them? And that's where I see where they think it doesn't say the Jewish feast, it says Yah's feast, Yahovah's feast. And the fact that I'm keeping them, I think in a way makes them jealous. Why am I keeping their feast? Which is not true, but they call it their feast. I'm going, no, it's Yahovah's feast. It's everyone's feast.
Oh, did I get into a debate with a Noahide adherent here the other day? Oh, that was drop your swords. We're going at it.
But that's just my opinion. That's how I look at it, because I've gotten a lot of grief, not grief, but questions on why am I keeping their feast? And I look at them and I go, it's not really your feast. What does the Torah say? It's Yahovah's feast. I'm keeping his feast. And then when they see other people besides themselves keeping the feast, it's like all of a sudden, well, wait a minute here. We're God's chosen. Are you God's chosen too? We're the only one that's God's chosen. And I think sometimes it causes jealousy because of that. But that's just my view.
Yeah, no. So Shane's got the scripture here, Romans 11:11. I say, then they did not stumble so as to fall, did they? May it never be. But by their false step, salvation has come to the Gentiles to provoke Israel, excuse me, to jealousy. To provoke Israel to jealousy. It's not to provoke the Jews to jealousy, it's to provoke Israel to jealousy. Who's Israel? The Jews call Israel the Goy. The 10 northern tribes were called Goy because they didn't keep the law. They were strangers. They were strangers to the law. They just didn't keep the Torah, so they called them Goy. So how are they going to provoke them to jealousy? Anyway, that's the scripture. Mike, go ahead.
I lowered my hand because you were hitting at it, but yeah,
No,
modern day
no.
Israel, the Western world, Christendom, Christians and Jews. What Eric said, he's like, well, hey, by doing these feasts, Jews look at me and say, well, that kind of provokes me to jealousy in a way. But I'm looking outside the box like you are, Joe, on this. I'm looking at the modern Christian world not keeping Torah. So where's the Torah going? The Torah is going outside of Christendom. The Torah is going to other parts of the world that have not seen it before, and that will provoke the rest of the world, the Christian world, Israel, to jealousy when they see the Torah in places like the Philippines and Africa and various parts of the world. When Christendom's going through the hard times, the tribulation, the Torah is going to be somewhere else, and that's a tough one.
Yeah. Okay, so you've touched on it a little bit.
It's the famine of the word that the Bible talks about. It's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So I'm just realizing the more I talk, the more drier my throat's going to get. I'm going to start coughing more. So I apologize for that. I'm coughing right in your ear with my mic. I can't remember the verse, Romans 9, 10, or 11. Romans 9, 10, or 11. When you read Romans 9, 10, 11, you go take it back to Deuteronomy. And I just looked. I can't see it there real quick. But it can find the verse in Deuteronomy where it says he's going to raise up a no people. Or it starts in Romans, take it back to Deuteronomy. He's going to raise up a no people. So here's the situation. Jehovah's talking about Israel. Israel. How's he going to make them jealous? Israel are the ones who've gone out and they worship a no God. A God made of statue, a God made of wood. So by worshiping a no God, Jehovah's going to, Jehovah does these. I kind of like the way he does stuff. Sometimes it's like a little twist in the knife here. Just, you're going to do that. I'm going to do this, the opposite. So by worshiping a no God, the gods of gold, the calves of gold, I'm going to raise up a no people that are going to run to me, and they're going to make you jealous.
Hey, Joe.
He's going to call them Levites too. That's really going to make him jealous.
Would you like me to throw up eSword for you?
I can throw up eSword anytime, but I just couldn't find it when I just looked. They have moved Janice got it in the side, Deuteronomy 32:21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is no God, which is not God. That's a piece of wood or a piece of stone. They have provoked me to anger with their vanity. So worshiping a false God is a vanity. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of breath. And I will move them to jealousy. I'm going to make them jealous because I'm jealous for them. Now I'm going to make them jealous of me with those which are not a people. What? I will provoke them to anger with, where'd you go? Now you just lost me. With a foolish nation. I'm going to provoke Israel to jealousy with a no people and a foolish nation. What is he talking about? Eric.
Yeah, I would go. This is why I think what you're saying there. Now we use the term Jew and Christian, but I think among the Jew and Christian, there's going to come out like you're talking about. Even the nation of Israel is called Goy. There's still a
Yes.
nation of Israel. There's a nation of the world, but there's also the nation of Israel, which is also called Goy. So there's this nation of people that exist. The question is, if I were Christian, I would have certain characteristics. If I were Jew, I would have certain characteristics. What I see forming today is a group of people that are not categorized as either one. They're not either or. They're basically believing that Yeshua is the Mashiach, but at the same time, they're walking in the Torah. So they have the characteristics, the strengths of both, and hopefully they shed the weaknesses by analyzing and looking at it from different viewpoints. That, like the idea that somehow divorce is a sin. The Torah doesn't say that. The New Testament tries to portray it that way. Now, does God want you to get divorced?
I think you're getting too fine a hair here. You got to look more broad at the, not just one or some of these different laws, but look at keeping the entire law.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to say.
There are no people.
Right, and that's why I was saying right here in 2 Corinthians 3:13, I think it addresses this. It says right here, therefore, since we have such a hope, we use great boldness of speech, unlike Moses, who put a veil over his face that the children of Israel could not look steadily at the end of what was passing away, but their minds were blinded. So he's talking about Israel. For until this day, the same veil remains unlifted in the reading of the Old Testament, because the veil is taken away in Christ. But even to this day, when Moses is read, a veil lies over their heart. Nevertheless, when one turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. But we all, with unveiled face, beholding as in a mirror the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from glory to glory, just as by the Spirit of the Lord. So the advantage of turning to Yeshua is the Torah is now opened up to you. But a lot of people that study the Torah don't have that veil taken away because they don't believe that Yeshua is the Messiah. And so they're blinding themselves, but then Christians are blinding themselves to the Torah. Even though the veil's taken away, they're not looking in the Torah and studying the Torah. They think it's done away with. So we're basically blinding ourselves, and we're all Israel. So when it says all of Israel is blinded, we are suffering from different blindness, partly because the veil's taken away, but we don't want to study it because it's done away with, or we don't accept Yeshua and we look at the Torah and we can't see it because we're blinded, because we haven't turned to Yeshua. So we're blinding ourselves. We're doing it to ourselves.
You're right. We are doing it to ourselves, or hopefully not we. It's they.
Well, yeah, hopefully not us. Yeah, I agree. Hopefully not us. In other words, we have gotten rid of the idea that Yeshua came to do away with the law. He came to fulfill, to teach, to tell us how to do it correctly.
That's right. So now, okay, so I'm going to throw this at Ella next. Who are the no people? We're still on that subject.
Well, what I was going to say had to do with right at the beginning of this, so maybe we'll get into that. But what I want to say is, the real observant Jews, we call Jews part of Israel, who are Jewish, I don't think they would be necessarily jealous. They'd be mad that you were doing that. But like Robbie's example of the friend who was not observant, he's born a Jew and he knows all the laws and rules and regulations, but he's not being observant. He became jealous because Robbie was doing what he should be doing. So I see those two ends of that. Who is the no people?
But that's exactly what's going to happen when the no people are doing what the Israelites are supposed to have been doing. That's going to make them jealous. So that's the point I'm trying to get to. But identify who those no people are.
Well, the no people are ones who are goyim, or who have not been born into Israel. Maybe.
Okay, that's your shot.
That's my shot.
Okay, Brian, are you done, Ella?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, you're throwing a couple of questions out there. I'm thinking about the first question. You're starting to ask another question here.
I'm trying to get you all to think.
Yeah, well, we're thinking. We just can't talk fast enough. So,
Yeah.
Yeshua addressed this very principle that we're discussing here, provoking the Jews to jealousy, when he spoke about the prodigal son. When he had two brothers, the younger requested his inheritance, went off, squandered it, threw it away on adulterous living and wasting away, ended up feeding pigs, the most lowly type job a Jew could possibly encounter. Comes back home, his father sees him, puts a robe on him, gives him a ring on his finger, and kills the fatted calf, and they have a celebration. And who is jealous? The older brother.
But who's the younger brother though in that situation?
I'm getting to it. You're
okay. Sorry, can't talk fast enough, right?
I know, that's it. I believe that those that are coming under the understanding of Hebrew roots, of coming out of, we are grafted in with the older brother. The older brother, first of all, I think is the Jewish people, the people, the older brother, those that have kept the commandments and have maintained the law as to the best of their knowledge, as perfectly as they could, with all of their takanot and their added commandments, the oral law and all. But they have maintained their belief in the keeping the commandments through generations. Where we as Christians, we come under Yeshua, we're taught not to keep the commandments, but now we are the younger brother coming home with, so to speak, bacon on our breath. And the younger brother sees that those of us that are coming back are being blessed, and we're being acknowledged as part of the same root and same vine as the Jewish people, the older brother. So we are the younger brother, and the older brother, the Jewish people, are looking at us. It's like saying, well, wait, whoa, how come they're getting blessed and they're just now coming into this understanding when we've been keeping it for centuries? So I think, as best I can look at it and explain it, the older brother are the Jews. We are the younger brother coming into the understanding and walking in Torah and being blessed by keeping the feast and keeping the commandments. I rest my case.
You're right. It's not who I was talking about, but you're right. The parable about the older brother, Judah, being jealous of the stupid younger brother, that's Israel, coming back and being blessed. It doesn't mean we're better. And yet I see too many messianics, too many Torah roots, too many Hebrew roots, thinking they are way better than the Jews because we believe in Yeshua. And they're morons. They're absolute morons. I put out a video on Telegram. I'm going to Randy, can you just grab that video that I did on Telegram the other night of all the people at the Wailing Wall? It's about an hour and 40 minutes long. I want y'all to take that video and after today, watch it. Watch the whole thing. You might not understand what they're saying. I want you to watch the whole thing though, because that's what they did from 12 in the morning to 1:45 a.m. And I sat in the hill here and I listened to it all. I was as if I was right there with them. I even was able to sing some of the songs with them. It was that clear. I'm over a mile away and I can understand what they're saying. It was that clear and that loud. So Randy's going to put it in the chat here, and I want you to all make sure you go and do that, because Judah's got this passion that we don't got. Oh, we got Yeshua. Well, yeah, they got Yeshua too. You just don't understand it. They know Yeshua better than you. They just don't know him as Yeshua. And you don't know Yeshua as well as they do, because you got this Christianese thing in your head. So that's something you got to learn. Thank you, Randy. There it is in the chat. Everyone, copy and paste it to your browser. Look at it afterwards. Watch all 1 hour and 45 minutes. Make that your assignment. Learn the passion that Judah has, and they'll be doing that again tonight and again tomorrow night from 12 until 2 or 3. There's even another one starts at 4 in the morning. They do this all the time. They did it again this afternoon. There's that many people here. They're filling up the hotel this many times to do this repentance. Now, we did the repentance when we did it. You know, I remember it was moving, but it's nowhere close. How are we going to make Judah jealous? We're not. Israel's not going to make Judah jealous. They're going to be jealous that we're getting this reward. That's because Jehovah loves us, but that's not the one that I'm thinking of. So I still got this question out there about Robbie's Romans 11. Candy, go ahead.
Okay, I'll take a stab at it. From what I gather from what I've been reading in your books and stuff too, but what I really focused in on was when I read about how in Matthew 22, I think it is, where there was the guest hadn't showed up to the wedding because nobody was ready. Nobody showed up. So he went out. He said, go out and get the lost or the good and the bad and bring them in. So it was like spread out to the rest of us because those who were the actual guests, they didn't show up. They didn't recognize it. They didn't care to be there. And so I would think that the jealousy comes from the fact that they weren't waited for. It was like, okay, you're not going to be here. We'll step over and we'll go get somebody who would like to be here. And we'll teach them the ways and give them the blessing and everything that was meant for you as well. And so that's what kind of comes to my heart at that point. And then when you talk about who are they? So when I read in your of the trilogy of awe, what is that? The first one where you talked or you explained how there's the Jews and the Christians, but the original people that had been there that were Jewish who had believed in the Messiah and everything that had taken place and that left after Messiah died, was killed. That was the Nazarene. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're going, but keep going.
Well, so when you were saying, well, who are these people? I believe it's the Nazarene. It's not just the Jews. It's not the Christians. It's the ones in the middle. That we're not Christians. We're not necessarily Jews. We're Nazarene. We keep the feasts, but we believe in the Messiah and that he was the sacrificial lamb for our sins for those who receive it. When you said, who are they? I think the answer is the Nazarene.
I would say I can agree with that. That's not who I'm looking for, but I can agree with that. No, because you're putting up a good point, and that's correct. That's not who I'm looking for, though. So I'm gonna keep fishing here.
Okay.
Glenn.
Maybe unstable. They're putting 10G. How you doing, buddy?
I'm on the mend.
Yeah, I hope you feel better. So listen, I'll be kicking in and out. They're putting 10G in our area. They're still doing it. I'm still having trouble. So just have me repeat if you don't hear something.
You're going twice as fast as everyone else. You still can't say it.
Yep. So the no people. Well, no people would be not blood related to Israel or to Jews. So those are the people that are not those two. And they may be worshiping idols. They may be worshiping no gods. And how fitting it would be for him to do exactly that, using a no people that is worshiping a no God to put all of us to jealousy. And
you're
so
right on the track. Keep going.
Do you want me to tell you who it is?
No, I think you may already know.
I do know, and I've just let you be. You go ahead and do it.
No, you hold on. I'll come back to you in a few minutes. But that's take the people who are not worshiping God now and take those people and make them worship him, run to him. That is what he's going to do to make Israel jealous. Paul, go ahead.
I was also looking at, when you were talking about the prodigal son, that there are some at the end of the day that will get called up, and they will get the same blessing as those who started at the beginning. Judas started
Yeah,
at the beginning.
I hate those guys, Paul. I don't like them. That's
yeah,
not fair.
yeah. Well, thanks very much. I know, and they Judah feels like, well, we should get more, and all of a sudden he's now only getting what he agreed to, but the others get the same fee for doing what little they had right at the end, and that's also jealousy.
Yeah,
that they feel.
I know what you're saying. I agree with it, but that's not going to identify the people that we're looking for.
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Bree, welcome, Bree. Nice to meet you. I can't hear you. Are you
okay? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Where are you from?
Okay. Okay, so I live in Clark Fork, Idaho.
Okay.
We've conversed over email a few times.
Yes.
Just recently got to know you, and I've been reading about the Barley app, and I've been reading a lot, listening to your videos, and I listened to your video regarding the dispersed people, to disperse God's people into the Christian world, into all the other world that they have all those different what you call them, different pictures, what you call that, how they got dispersed, and some of them became Christians, and some of them they're not following Yahweh anymore, but Yahweh is calling them back. My mom told me that from her family side they had what you call it, a Waffen.
Waffen is a family crest.
Yeah, the crests. You showed the crests in your video, and how those crests represent the different tribes of Israel, and how they are coming back, but they need to be brought to jealousy from us Gentiles, because we are drawing to God. We are getting to know Him. We wanted to know what's going on with the Torah. I myself, I grew up Catholic in Germany. My family got so messed up. My brother became a Muslim, so he could marry his girl. But he still believes somehow doing even the Christian stuff, doing the Christmas tree and all that stuff. My youngest brother doesn't believe in God. He runs out the door when we used to starting talking about God. Me, from Germany, how I got here to America? Well, I met my husband as an American soldier. I came over, and there was a different church on every corner. I'm like, what's going on? So we just went from one church to another, trying to find the truth. Our two girls, they got dragged around to different churches: Church of Christ, International Church of Christ, Pentecostal Church. Something was wrong with every one of them. So then I'm like, Yahweh, something's going on. And I got the invitation from the SDA. Well, there was a stepping stone. Yahweh gives us stepping stones to learn the Shabbat. That's where I learned about the Shabbat. Then I learned about the movement back to the Hebrew roots. It's just an amazing journey that Yahweh put me on, and my husband too. So anyway, yeah, the Torah is awesome. While I was visiting my parents at times, my dad's like, the road is broad, it's wide. I'm like, no, Dad, it's not. And he's like, well, your brother is a Muslim. Well, he's a Muslim. He is not gonna make it. I don't remember exactly what I said, but my dad was furious about me maybe doing Shabbat when he was doing Sunday. So here I am now learning on your website all those wonderful truths and getting pulled away again from other from a different church called the Assembly of Called Out Believers, going with the Hallel calendar. I'm like, that's wrong too. So, like I said, I am not doing they call it the fall feasts, call it the 7th month feast. So we're not doing it because I don't want to go by the sun. But Yahweh, like you said, I think to know people are the people that lost their faith in Yahweh and they need to come back. I don't know if I'm making any sense to you.
You are making perfect sense. You're making perfect sense, Bree, because everyone here has been down pretty much the same type of journey, gone through different churches to get here, myself included. We're all just, we're all doing the same thing. We're doing the same walk, and we're being called by Jehovah to come to his truth. But these are, sorry, these are not the no people that I'm referring to. These are, we are, for the most part, the Israelites who went astray, and Jehovah is bringing them back somehow. Different steps for everybody. Everyone's going through different things, and they're dealing with it, and they're learning and growing. I have been blessed and privileged to be able to put this stuff on a website so people can find it. I don't know how they find it, but they do. So that's awesome. But we're all in the same journey, and we're all growing the same way, and we all come to different levels of understanding at different times. And there are people here that are just beginning, and people here that are, like Glenn, that are really, really old, and really old, like Glenn. And then, we're all still learning. But so don't stop. Don't stop. So let me get back. We're trying to get to the know people. I'm trying to get to know people. It's not that, excuse me, it's not that because we didn't know God and we started to come to know him. That's not what he's doing here. That's not what I see. Romans 9, Romans 10, Deuteronomy, whatever that number was in Deuteronomy we had earlier. Nancy, do you got the answer? Who are the no people?
I had to unmute. I feel like it's kind of like you guys almost said. I also saw the witnesses of the Jews getting jealous of me keeping. Well, I had a Jewish man say to my daughter, she's more Jewish than I am. So I at first felt like it was that too, that it was like those that were keeping the feast and keeping the dates and everything were getting the actual Jewish people were getting it. But then there's also the dilemma that in currently what's happening in Germany, Spain, and Ireland, they're asking people that were, it's like 1 or 2 generations away from their country, if they were Jewish to come back to their lands all of a sudden. And so if they can say their grandfather or great-grandmother or great-grandfather to come back. So I almost see like that gathering that we talked about. But then, as you mentioned before, I look at those that worship the dragon, worship the Hindu gods, Buddha, all of that stuff. And we're starting to see that turnaround. So I can see how those that call themselves now Torah obedient or Israel, those names could get extremely jealous of those people that are coming back around. So that made sense to me. So I'm torn now. I'm torn between 3 different things. I'm torn between the jealousy that the people that call themselves Jews now to the ones that are coming back. Like I got an example, I knew during the Spanish Inquisition, there were a lot of Jews, original Jews that were in Spain that were moved to Mexico, and their devotion, I know them. It's like what you're seeing in the Philippines, for them to let go of the Catholic and that idol worship, the idol worship of the Roman Catholic Church is so devastating. My best friend just weeps and cries over her family. And so that could be another one that's worshiping the idols, because all the saints, they go on runs, they do all these things. So I'm going to say I have some really strong clues that those could be the no people. So I want you to spill the beans. And I happen to have, I told you the Philippine, Catherine was just here the other day. You know, she was confirming how the president, you know, let go of the debt. She's so amazed that this has happened. And Catherine is such a beautiful person.
Let me interrupt you. The debt that he let go of was the debt for the farmers during the Shemitah year.
Right. Right, exactly. And that's what we discussed. And they were amazed. During the time that you were there, Catherine was there. So it was just like, I have a clue, could it be the Filipinos now? Because their idol worship would have been at the same level as the people that didn't know they were Jews that are in Mexico, or the people that didn't know that they were Jews before, that got just slammed with the Catholic.
Let me bring Glenn back in here, see if Glenn's got the answer. He said he did, and I shut him down. So let's see if he's got the answer.
All right. Well, you're reaching out into those areas. You've got the Philippines, you got Kenya, you're going into India. Those are the no people that I'm seeing as being the ones Jehovah's calling now. The rest of the world.
So I would not say the rest of the world. So if we're going to go to the rest of the world, that would come under the heading of Revelation, I think it's 7 or 11, where the innumerable multitude comes out at the end of the tribulation. So that would be the rest of the world. The no people that he's going to use to make jealous. Okay, so you hinted at it. Excuse me, and Nancy just hinted at it. India has been a people for a long, long time. They started the Sikhs began in 600 BC. So they've been a people. The Chinese have been a people. The Africans, they've been a people as well. But the one people that hasn't been a people, they've been worshiping a no God, has been the Philippine people. They've been dominated by India, Indonesia, China, Japan. They've been dominated by a lot of other people, the Spanish, the Americans. They've never been their own people until 1946. Guess who else became a people at that time again? The Jews. So I'm looking at the potential. In all of Asia, there's only one Christian nation, and that's the Philippines. So the Philippines could be that no people. Now, the more I look at it, the Philippine people are already in every country around the world. They're loved by everybody around the world. They're the nannies and the janitors. They're the servants of most of the people in every country around the world. They're the restaurant waiters. And they're always very pleasant. I get a Filipino on the,
very humble.
When I call Bell Telephone, I'm already mad. I've been put through the gears before I even get to talk to a real person. And then a Filipino gets on the other line. I can't get mad at them. It just
they're very humble.
They're very nice. Yes, very humble, very polite. So I believe it's the Filipinos who are going to be these people that are going to rush the Torah. And what I've been talking to those leaders in the Philippines in the last trip, when we add it all up, there are almost 1 million followers in the 4 or 5 groups I'm talking to. Almost 1 million followers. And they got their 2 feet, one Christian, one kind of loving Israel and kind of keeping the holy days, kind of. So they just need a little nudge to go the rest of the way. And I'm hoping that after this week, I'm going to have the nudge for them to go. So that's what I wanted Robbie to hear. That's the Romans 11, the no people he's going to use to provoke the jealousy, the people that are worshiping and no God. That's us as in general, remnant of Israel, who are worshiping statues and made out of wood and stone.
May I make a point?
Yes.
Candy mentioned Netzarim. We are the Netzarim, the branches in that parable of the vine dresser. We are the branches that get pruned out if we don't perform. The Father prunes out. The root is Yeshua. And if we are of the wild branch, he can graft us back in, and he will prune out those that don't perform the fruit. So that's where the branch or the branches, which is in Hebrew is Netzarim, and not Nazarene, because that's kind of a mistranslation, but it's close. Just so you know, we are the Netzers, the Netzarim.
N-E-T-S-A-R, Netzar. And what that means is it's a branch. It's a shoot that goes out from the olive tree. It goes out and it jumps out of the ground. It's a netzer. It's a branch from the olive tree. Shane, have we? Okay, yes. I think Robbie's gone. I'm not sure if Robbie's still here. He had to go somewhere.
He stepped away for a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Can I do a little teaching now, or can we got something else we got to do?
You can. I'm good with it.
Your show, brother.
I'm good too.
I'm asking permission. Oh, wow.
Please, we love your teachings, Joe.
Let's have a show of hands and see who wants Joe to teach today.
Now I got to change the whole schedule around. No,
yeah, that's what I mean. Shane's got this schedule up, and I'm jumping in here. Okay, so I'm here in Jerusalem. I'm on the Mount of Golgotha. Well, the people that were here know where I'm at. In fact, I think I'm even staying in Shane's room that he stayed in. I did a little study this afternoon. Let me see, where did I put it? And Rose, you got your hand up.
She wanted you to teach.
She wanted you to teach.
I'm sorry. I'm not paying attention. Let's get I need a couple readers. Let's go through Ezekiel. I want you to read Ezekiel. Let me just see, what did I say here? Ezekiel what? Ezekiel. You guys still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, not there. I want to go to. Good night. I need a reader, and we're going to start off reading Ezekiel. Where are you? This will be supposed to be in this week's newsletter, but that's going to be postponed just a little bit. Okay, Ezekiel 9. We're going to read Ezekiel 9, 10, and 11, I believe it is. Okay. Do I have any volunteers?
I got it first. Go ahead. And he cried in my ears with a loud voice, saying, let the overseers of the city draw near, even each with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the upper gate, which faces north, and each had his shattering weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, and a writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the bronze altar. And the glory of God of Israel had gone on from the cherub where it was on it to the threshold of the house. And
hang on, Randy. I want you to pay attention to, and he went in and stood beside the bronze altar. What is the bronze altar? Where is it? Okay, you're in the temple. Where's the bronze altar? Now, Randy just read verse 3, and had gone from the cherub, Where's the cherub? Understand where he's gone from. The cherub, where is that? There's 2 cherubs are on the ark.
The ark.
And he's gone now from the ark to the threshold. So this is the one thing I want you to pay attention to. Okay, Randy, carry on.
And he called to the man clothed in linen with the writer's inkhorn by his side. And Jehovah said to him, go through in the midst of the city, in the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark on the foreheads of the men who are groaning and are mourning because of all the abominations that are done in her midst. And he said to those in my hearing, go over in the city after him and strike. Let not your eyes spare, nor have pity.
Hang on, is this the God of love? Is this the God of love that we're supposed to be following? Carry on.
Fully destroy old men, young men, and virgins, and little children and women. But do not come near any man on whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. And they began at the old men who were before the house. And he said to them, defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Go out. And they went out and killed in the city. And it happened as they were slaying them, and I remained. Then I fell on my face and cried and said, Ah, Lord Jehovah, will you destroy all the remnant of Israel in your pouring out of your fury on Jerusalem? And he said to me, the iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is great, and the land is full of blood, and the city is full of perversity, for they say, Jehovah has forsaken the land, and Jehovah does not see. And even I, my eye shall not spare, nor will I have pity, but I will put their way on their head. And behold, the man clothed with linen, with the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as you have commanded me.
Okay, so let's just stop here a second. Ezekiel, let's go back to chapter 8. Hey, Randy, you want to just read the first few verses here? I think is what I want. 8, chapter 1.
The first verse?
Where are we? I'm trying to get to when is this taking place? So just start reading the 8, chapter 1 for me.
And it was in the 6th year, in the 6th month, on the 5th of the month, I was sitting in my house, and the elders of Judah were sitting before me, and the hand of Jehovah fell on me there. And I looked, and behold, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins and downward like fire, and from his loins and upwards as the appearance of brightness, like the color of polished bronze.
Okay, so just that second verse, he's talking about Jehovah, and his appearance is like fire. And that's the focus that I'm drawing in on. Well, that's just one. But focus on that. Okay, keep going, Randy. Verse 3.
And he put out the form of a hand and took me by the lock of my head, and the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heavens and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the opening of the inner gate facing north, where there was a seat of the image of jealousy, which provokes to jealousy.
Okay, so hang on. This is a huge verse. First of all, Ezekiel is in the Persian area. He's a captive. He's been captured by the Babylonians, taken away. He's up there in Persia, Iraq, or Iran, somewhere up there. And Jehovah takes him by the lock of a hair. And this is what I'm sort of praying. See, I made Randy promise me he would not come back. And I kind of regret it. I got nobody to pick on here. But if what happens, then I did not allow him to be a part of one of the biggest things in history. And really was more concerned about his safety than that. So I could have let him come here and then get killed, but but, I was concerned about his safety, so I made him promise not to come back. So I regret that, but I'm still looking at this verse because we need a couple witnesses here. And so I'm hoping, I don't know if Shane's hair is long enough to get a lock of it, but for the angel to grab both him and Randy and drag him over here one night and show them some things. But so this is during Ezekiel's time when he's in captivity. And he's brought back to Jerusalem, he's brought back to the temple of, this is before 586, so this is still the temple of Solomon. This isn't Zerubbabel's temple, this isn't Herod's temple, this is Solomon's temple. And he's looking at the north gate. And this could be speaking of that time then, or it could be speaking of that time now. He's at the north gate, and he's facing north. So those of you who are here, where is north of the city of David? Now you can start to think. Where there was a seat of the image of jealousy. Okay?
Can you explain to them what the symbol of jealousy is? I don't know if everyone knows what that is.
Glenn, go ahead if you want. Do you want to go ahead, Glenn, and explain it? Or you want me to do it?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Ezekiel's tunnel, is that north of the city of David?
It would be. It starts in the north. It starts on the north of this. It starts on the north of the city of David and ends up on the west side of the city of David, according to Second Chronicles. Glenn, what were you saying?
I was saying the pillar. It's a pillar.
The image of jealousy is a pillar. Glenn,
and it's like the Washington Monument. I'm having a hard time with my internet. Again, it's
okay. It could be a pillar. It could be
pillar. The Washington Monument is one in Rome too.
Okay, but we're standing here in Jerusalem. There's no pillar like that here to be spoken of. The image of jealousy is a false god. Any false god. Any false representation of another god. It's just like it could be, if you take it as adultery, it will be any woman wearing a red dress standing under a red light is an adulteress. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be a red dress. It could be a white dress, it could be a blue dress, it could be a blue light. They're still prostituting themselves. These are all these different things that he's talking about, the image of jealousy that provokes the jealousy. But there's more to this. Okay? Randy, carry on here for a little bit.
And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. And he said to me, Son of man, lift up your eyes now to the way of the north. So I lifted up my eyes the way up toward the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, the image of jealousy was at the entrance.
Okay, stop. Where's the altar? Randy, you know the answer. The altar is Golgotha.
Sure.
Okay. So at the northward at the gate of the altar, the image of jealousy was at the entrance. Okay. Those of you who are here, consider this. Carry on, verse 6.
And he said to me, Son of man, do you see what they do? Even the great abominations with which the house of Israel is doing here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary? But turn again, and you shall see greater abominations.
So first of all, this is not talking about Judah. This is talking about all of Israel. All of Israel. And I'm applying it to all of Israel today. Okay. Carry on, Randy. Thank you.
And he brought me to the opening of the court, and I looked, and behold, a hole in the wall. And he said to me, Son of man, dig in the wall now. And I dug in the wall, and behold, an opening. And he said to me, Go in and see the evil abominations that they do here. And I went in and saw, and behold, every kind of creeping thing and hateful beast and all the idols of the house of Israel were carved on the wall all around. And 70 men of the elders of the house of Israel, and Jezaniah, the son of Shaphan, standing among them, these were before them, and each man with his censer in his hand. And the odor of the cloud of incense was rising.
Okay, so hang on. The censer, how does the censer get lit? And what is the incense that's put on it? Okay, another important thing to keep in mind as we keep on going here. This is not the incense altar. These are the censers that each person carried, representing his staff or his tribe. Okay, carry on.
And he said to me, Son of man, have you seen what the elders of the house of Israel do in the dark, each man in his image room? For they are saying, Jehovah does not see us. Jehovah has forsaken the earth. He also said to me, You turn again, and you shall see greater evils that they are doing. And he brought me to the opening of the gate of Jehovah's house toward the north, and behold, women were sitting there weeping for Tammuz. And he said to me, Have you seen, O son of man? Yet turn again, and you shall see greater evils than these.
So just another little assignment. What does it mean to be weeping for Tammuz? What does that mean? Who's doing it? How is that involved in Christianity? Do you even know? So that's another little assignment that you should be looking at. Okay, carry on.
And he brought me into the inner court of Jehovah's house, and behold, at the opening of the temple of Jehovah, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs toward the temple of Jehovah, and their faces toward the east. And they bowed themselves eastward to the sun. And he said to me, Have you seen, O son of man? It is a light thing to the house of Judah that they do the hateful things which they do here. For they have filled the land with violence and have turned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. And I will also deal with fury. My eye shall not spare, nor will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, I will not hear them.
So we have to stop and look at, put the branch to their nose. What does that mean? Put the branch to their nose. And I did this the other day, and I think I may have forgotten it exactly. No, I'm not going to get it there. Okay, I've got it in my notes, and that'll be coming out. I want you to pay attention to the branch of the nose. And that's sort of referring to the branch as the Messiah. And it's not a good thing what they're doing here. Anyway, I forgot what it is. I'm sorry. It's getting late for me, and my brain's shutting down. So let's go on. We did 8, 9. Let's go to verse 10. I mean, chapter 10. We got another reader, or is Randy going to carry on?
I can still go.
I can't see the board.
I can read if you like.
Go ahead, whoever that was.
It's Scott here.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
Then I looked, and behold, on the expanse that was over the heads of the cherubim, there appeared above them something like a sapphire, in appearance like a throne. And he said to the man clothed in linen, Go in among the whirling wheels underneath the cherubim, fill your hands with burning coals from between the cherubim, and scatter them over the city. And
okay,
he
so
went.
Hang on, just hold on, Scott. So you're to go in between the burning wheels, under the cherubs, and get the coals. What are the coals, and where are they being gotten from? Anybody?
From the incense altar?
No. Where do you get the coals for the incense altar?
From the brazen altar.
From the brazen altar. So the brazen altar is where these coals are to be gotten from for the incense altar, and that's in reference to the same brazen altar underneath the cherub in between the wheels here. Again, I want you to, when I read this yesterday and this morning, this was so huge. Reading it here. Okay, yeah, Scott, carry on.
Now the cherubim were standing on the south side of the house when the man went in, and a cloud filled the inner court. And the glory of the Lord went up from the cherubim to the threshold of the house, and the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was filled with the brightness of the glory of the Lord. And the sound of the wings of the cherubim were heard as far as the outer court, like the voice of God Almighty when he speaks. And when he commanded the man clothed in linen, take fire from between the whirling wheels, from between the cherubim, he went in and stood beside a wheel. And a cherubim stretched out his hand from between the cherubim to the fire that was between the cherubim, and took some of it and put it into the hands of the man clothed in linen, who took it and went out. The cherubim appeared to have the form of a human hand under their wings. And I looked, and behold, there were 4 wheels beside the cherubim, one beside each cherub. And the appearance of the wheels was like sparkling beryl. And as for their appearance, the 4 had the same likeness as if a wheel were within a wheel. When they went in any of their 4 directions, without turning as they went. But in whatever direction the front wheel faced, the others followed without turning as they went. And their whole body, their rims and their spokes, their wings, and the wheels were full of eyes all around, the wheels that the 4 of them had. As for the wheels, they were called in my hearing the whirling wheels, and every one had 4 faces. The first face was the face of the cherub, and the second face was a human face, and the third the face of a lion, and the fourth the face of an eagle. And the cherubim mounted up. These were the living creatures that I saw by the Chebar canal. And when the cherubim went, the wheels went beside them. And when the cherubim lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, the wheels did not turn from beside them. When they stood still, these stood still. And when they mounted up, these mounted up with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in them. Then the glory of the Lord went out from the threshold of the house and stood over the cherubim. And the cherubim
hang on, Scott. I want you to pay attention here. The glory of Jehovah went from the threshold of the house and stood over the cherubim. What is over top of the cherubim? What is the glory of Jehovah? It's talking about the Shekinah here. This is the Shekinah. This is the glory of God above the cherubim. Okay? And it's at the threshold of the house. Where's the threshold of the house? It's the door. He's no longer in the Holy of Holies. He's now moved to the door. The threshold. What's the threshold of the tabernacle here in Jerusalem? It's the Kidron Valley. Think a little bit bigger than just the tabernacle. What is he doing? Where's he talking about? Okay. Okay, Scott, carry on.
And the cherubim lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth before my eyes as they went out, with the wheels beside them. And they stood at the entrance at the east gate of the house of the Lord, and the glory of the God of Israel was over them.
Okay,
These
so
were
stop.
the
Just again, picture where this is. If you don't, those of you who have been here know where this is. Those of you who have not been here need to get out a map and look at the map. The eastern gate of Jehovah's house is facing east. It's facing towards Jordan. It's facing towards the mountains of Olive, mountains of Moriah. So it's facing east. Again, this is all important.
A picture or an image of this, Joe, that we could put up here to actually look at and you show us?
I didn't plan on this, so I have no pictures ready. So if someone can find one, that'd be great. Carry on, Scott.
These were the living creatures that I saw underneath the God of Israel by the Chebar channel, and I knew that they were cherubim. Each had 4 faces and each 4 wings, and underneath their wings the likeness of human hands. And as for the likeness of their faces, they were the same faces whose appearance I had seen by the Chebar canal. Each one of them went straight forward.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, chapter 11. We're going to come back to chapter 10 in a moment, but I want to go through chapter 11 because it's going to conclude what I'm saying here. Have we got another reader?
I would like to read a little.
Who's that?
Ryan.
Okay, go ahead, Ryan. Thank you. I can't see the names on the side here, so I apologize.
All right, chapter 11. Then a spirit lifted me up and brought me to the east gate of Jehovah's house, the gate that faces eastward. At the entrance of the gate, I saw 25 men. Among them were Azaniah, the son of Azur, and Delayahu, the son of Benayahu, leaders of the people. He said to me, "Human being, these are the men who make evil plans and give wicked advice in this city. They say the time hasn't come to build houses. This city is the cooking pot, and we're the meat. Therefore prophesy against them, human being, prophesy. The Spirit of Jehovah fell on me, and he said to me, say, here is what Jehovah says. What you are saying is correct, house of Israel, because I know how your minds work. You have killed many in this city. You have filled its streets with the dead. Therefore Jehovah Elohim says this, those you have killed and strewn all over it, they are the meat, and this city is indeed the cooking pot, but you will be removed from it. You are afraid of the sword, but I will bring the sword upon you, says Jehovah Elohim. I will bring you out of it, hand you over to foreigners, and execute judgments among you. You will die by the sword. I will judge you at the border of Israel, and you will know that I am Jehovah. This city will not be your cooking pot, but you will be the meat in it. I will judge you at Israel's frontier, and you will know that I am Jehovah. For you have not lived by my laws or obeyed my rulings, but have acted according to the rules of the nations surrounding you. As I was prophesying, Platanyahu, the son of Benaniah, died. I fell down on my face and cried out, O Jehovah Elohim, are you going to destroy completely those of Israel whom are left? Then the word of Jehovah came to me. Human being, it is to your kinsmen, your brothers, your relatives, and the whole house of Israel, that the people living in Jerusalem have said, get away from Jehovah. This land has been given to us to possess. Therefore says that Jehovah Elohim says this, true, I removed them far away among the nations and scattered them among the countries. Nevertheless, I have been a little sanctuary for them in the countries to which they have gone. Therefore, say that Jehovah Elohim says this, I will gather you from the peoples and collect you from the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give the land of Israel to you. Then they will go there and remove all its loathsome things and disgusting practices, and I will give them unity of heart. I will put a new spirit among you. I will remove from their bodies the hearts of stone and give them hearts of flesh, so that they will live by my regulations, obey my rulings, and act by them. Then,
hang on. Hold on, Ryan. So this starts off, Ezekiel is in captivity. It's before 586 BC, and the temple has not yet fallen. But what Ryan just read here now has not happened since then either. So is this now switched from then to now? Is this now become a prophecy for our times today? Are we about to be brought back, or after going through a trial, going to be brought back and then have our stony hearts removed? Something to think about. Okay, carry on, Ryan.
Then they will be my people, and I will be their God. But as for those whose hearts go after the heart of their loathsome things and disgusting practices, I will bring the consequences of their ways on their own heads, says Jehovah Elohim. The cherubim lifted their wings, and the wheels were next to them, with the glory of the God of Israel over them above. Next, the glory of Jehovah rose from within the city and stood over the mountain, which is on the east side of the city. Then a spirit lifted me up and brought me in the vision by the Spirit of God to the exiles in the land of the Kasdim, after which the vision I had seen left me. So I told the exiles everything Jehovah had shown me.
Thank you, Ryan. So we've read where the Shekinah, the glory of God over the wheels, over the cherub, or the cherub over the wheels, left the Holy of Holies and went to the threshold of the tabernacle. Now we just read here, where the verse 22, and the cherubs lifted up their wings and the wheels beside them, and the glory of God of Israel was over them above. And verse 23, and the glory of Jehovah went up from the midst of the city. Excuse me. So he left the threshold in the midst of the city. This is the city of David, and stood on the mountain, which is on the east side of the city. What mountain is on the east side of the city of David?
Golgotha.
Golgotha. Golgotha.
Olive.
No, not the Mount of Olives. It's Golgotha.
Kurt's got a visual.
Is Moriah and Golgotha the same?
You could argue that, yes. Kurt's got a visual. Let me get out of here then. I want to come back here in a minute. Kurt, go ahead. You can share your screen. That's too close. You got to zoom out. Can you zoom out on that picture? Zoom out some more. Okay, hold it right there. Whoa. Stop. You stopped? Kurt, can you point out the city of David and the Gihon Spring? with your mouse. No, up, that's, go up higher to your right, to your right, to your right. Down, down, right there. Up a little bit. Yep, right there. That's a Gihon Spring. And to the left of his mouse is the city of David. Actually, that's not it. To go up a little bit higher, Kurt. Yeah, right there. There's a little red roof. You can see the little red roof up to your left. Go left, left, right there, right there. There you go. That's the Gihon Spring right there. Okay. So the Gihon Spring is in the south corner. And just to the left of that little red roof is another little building called Temple Zero. That's a Melchizedek stone. We were able to take everyone there on this tour. Private tour with L.A. Chukron. And Temple Zero is the one that Melchizedek did the altars in. So that is directly across. Zoom out, Kurt. That is directly across from the Golgotha, which is on the trees on the right-hand side, right where Kirk has his mouse there now. Okay, so that's Golgotha. That's the top of Golgotha. So what the question that I've been wrestling with, and so Kurt, if you want to point up the top right-hand corner of your map, that is what is called the Mount of Olives. If you can drag that down a little bit so we can see the Temple Mount. No, you might have to zoom out. Okay, so there's the Mount of Olives, and there's the Temple Mount on the left-hand side. In the brown area, over, well, I'm using my mouse. In the brown area, go up a little bit higher, Kurt. To your right. To your right. Yep, right there. That's where they're going to do the red heifer offering, in somewhere either there or up a little bit higher on the Mount of Olives. So they bought that land. The Jews have now bought that land in preparation for that offering. So
from this picture, could you explain where the bridge was that went from the temple to the slaughtering place?
Okay, Kurt, zoom in a little bit. What I do is when I take people there, I show them, okay, hold it right there, Kurt, too much. Okay, don't just stop. Don't do nothing. If you look on this map where the Gihon Spring is, you go back down to the road in the middle, that's the Kidron Valley. And you go up the Kidron Valley, there's 3 red roofs in the green area on the right-hand side of the Kidron. Yeah, right in there. Down a little bit lower near the Kidron is what is the leftovers or a remnant of a bridge abutment. So that's what I used to demonstrate where the bridge abutment was. That was there for Herod's temple. Don't zoom in, Kurt. Don't zoom in. Don't zoom in. Don't zoom in. I want you to zoom out. If you go from that bridge abutment straight up to the cemetery on the top, you'll run into the Panorama Hotel, which is right. If you see the cemetery on your right-hand side, Kurt, you're right. Go right. Yeah, that cemetery there. There's a hotel right there on the right-hand side. So that hotel lines up with the city of David approximately, and that would be about where the bridge abutment went. It went somewhere to around where the cemetery begins. And then from there, you would have to ascend the mount, which is going up that road to the where the trees are at the bottom of the picture. The road here was the only road coming in from this direction into Jerusalem. It was a very busy road. at the time of the temple. Okay, anything else? Anyone else got any questions they want answered?
Thank you.
Okay, Kurt, you want to get out of here? Thank you. And I'm going to go back and share my screen again. The question I've been having or wrestling with is, why is this area supposed to be holy? Now, we said, I want to go chapter 10, and we're going to look at this one word here. Some of you are going to get kind of excited, especially those of you who are here. What have I been talking about? What is this 8, 9, 10, 11 been talking about here? We're talking about the cherubim over top of the wheels. Inside the wheels is this fire, like the altar. Now, I left off a verse. What is it, verse? Hang on, I got to figure out what that verse is. It is Leviticus. Where is it? No. Uh-oh. Okay. Oh, yeah, Leviticus 6. Leviticus 6. Okay, I'll show you that here. You got it on the screen. What are you guys seeing on the screen right now? What have I got up there? Shane?
Back on Ezekiel still.
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
You're on Ezekiel 10:1.
Okay.
Yep.
So I want to just jump back here to Leviticus 6 and go to verse 13. Verse 12, and the fire on the altar shall be kept burning on it. It shall not be put out. And the priest shall burn wood on it every morning and lay the burnt offering on it in order on it. And he shall burn on it the fat of the peace offerings. The fire shall always be burning on the altar. It shall never go out. Why should the fire never go out? What does the fire represent?
Jehovah.
Anybody? What? Ella?
Jehovah.
Yeah, how'd you know that?
The Shekinah.
We read it back in Ezekiel.
Okay. Until you read Ezekiel, did you know that?
Probably didn't think about it.
Well, he is the flaming fire.
Yeah, he comes as a fire.
So the fire that's on the altar is never to go out. Why? Because it represents Jehovah. Right? Okay, so if that fire represents Jehovah, where's the fire represented? It's on the altar. Right? The altar is never to go out. It represents Jehovah. What is the altar? Okay, so now I'm still coming back to Ezekiel 10:2 because I want to show you something. Who is a sin offering? Leviticus 16 says the 2 goats, one was a sin offering. That goat represented Jehovah. Okay, so Jehovah is Yeshua. That's our sin offering. The sin offering was done where? Where was the red heifer offering done? Where is all sin offerings done? Outside the camp. Outside the camp. So the tabernacle is in the city of David. Outside the camp, Golgotha. Who said that? I can't see anyone's name, so I don't know.
That was Glenn.
Okay. So, yeah, the tabernacle or the altar is outside the city. That's Golgotha. Yeshua was the sin offering. Where was he offered? On Golgotha. What does that make Golgotha? It makes
The altar.
The altar. Okay, so now some people are going to argue that. I've already had that argument already with somebody that you all well know, but I'll just leave it like that. So now, other people are arguing that it's the Mount of Olives. Okay, let's give them that argument. And they're arguing for the Temple Mount, that we currently call the Temple Mount. Okay, give them that. Okay, Shane, can I get you to read what I'm about to put up here?
Sure.
Okay, so you ready? We're going to look at just one word. What's the main thing that we've been seeing about the Shekinah here? The Shekinah is above the cherub. The cherub, they got 4 faces. There's 2 of them, one on either side of the ark, and they're on top of wheels, and from the waist down is all burning fire, and all these different things pointing to the burning fire that's not to go out. Okay. We are going to look at the word wheels. That just stunned me when I saw this. Shane, you ready? I want you to start reading right now. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, start reading it.
Something that is round or a second time around, of a time or event. A dancing in a circle. English skull at an added S and an exchange of the K and G. Greek Golgotha.
Say that again. What?
Greek
Golgotha.
Golgotha.
Wow. That sounds like an oath.
No, it's not an oath. It's a wheel. So
yes,
what we talk about dancing in circles here, going around in circles to the different feasts, going around to the Sabbath, a circular weekly event, annual weekly or annual holy days, the septennially, the sabbatical years, the jubilee years. They're all circular, going around and around. And here's this word, right? And one of the meanings of it is Golgotha. Okay, Shane, carry on reading. Read the next definition. Keep on going down.
Round, and it says a mound or pile of something such as rocks or a spring out of the ground. Heap, wave, spring, billow, bowl. Mound, a mound or pile of something such as a spring out of the ground or other rounded object. Wheel, the wheel of a cart or a whirlwind. Wheel, heaven, rolling thing, whirlwind. Skull, the roundness of, you keep moving it.
Sorry.
The roundness of the head or skull, also a census by the counting of heads.
So
Pole,
just hang on. Where did they do the poll tax or the head tax? They did that on Golgotha.
Golgotha.
And Golgotha means the skull. What do we talk about here? A wheel. Okay, carry on, Shane.
So pole, skull, every head. Roll, and seek occasion, wallow, trust, commit, remove, run down. Round thing, something round such as stones or dung, for the sake of, as a rolling back around. Dung, because, sake, because of thee, for great. Ring, border, as going around something, folding ring. Border, as going around something, the border of a country is also representative of the country itself, border, coast, country. Idol, as made from a round log or stone. Idol, image. Grape, the harvested round grapes. Gleaning grapes. Grape gleanings, grapes. Drop, a drop of dew as round. Drop, redeem, the buying back, a bringing back around of someone or something. Redeem, to restore one to his original position or avenge his death. In the participle form, this verb means avenger, as it is the role of the nearest relative to redeem one in slavery or avenge his murder. Redeemer, kingsman, revenger, avenger, ransom, deliver, kingsfolk, kingsman, part, purchase, stain, wise. Redemption, redeem, redemption again, kindred, infant, a rejoicing at the birth of a child. Milk, to get milk. Milch young, infant, one who takes milk. Infant, child, babe, little one. Young little one. Infant, one who takes milk. Suckling, circle, continual, rolling or circling. Rejoice, a rejoicing by dancing around in a circle. Rejoice, glad, joyful, joy, delight. Circle, a circle of rejoicing.
And just so you all know, when I realized this last night and this morning, guess where I was dancing? What circle I was dancing?
In that circle, yeah. Circle rejoicing. Let's see, where's that? Scroll, the leather or papyrus sheet of written text that are rolled up. Scroll, the leather or papyrus sheets of written text that are rolled up. Bound, boundary, shave, barber, skin, shave, wrap, round, bullock.
So just let me stop you there. When you take a scroll and you roll it up, how many wheels are there?
Wheel within a wheel, bunch.
Two.
There's four. There's four.
Four. Okay.
Top and bottom of the scroll. Yep. Do you see a pattern here at all?
Wow.
Okay, so this word is gagal, whirlwind, whirl, wheel, or Golgotha, or a scroll. I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted you to understand where I am. And when I stood in that circle, now those of you who haven't been here may not know what I'm talking about, and I understand that. But when I look to the north and I look to the east and the west and the south, I now see I'm looking for four wheels full of eyes. And it's getting more and more wow here all the time. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know how are you guys doing for time? How much time, where are we in time wise?
I could stay here forever.
Where are the eyes you're referring to?
Ezekiel described the wheels full of eyes.
Yeah.
Right. So, you want me to look up what the eyes mean?
Well, no, I'm just asking you what are the eyes?
I can't do anything here without someone noticing what I'm doing. There are eyes everywhere. And if you notice, I'm not very loud today.
Well, you're referring to, I mean, from what you're saying, I see the Torah in all of this, the scroll. Yeah. And the scroll sees everything. The Torah sees everything.
John 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word, the Torah, became flesh. It's all tied together. You know?
Words are the eyes.
I'd say again, Ella.
The words are the eyes. The words.
You got a scripture for that?
No. but just I mean, the word is in the Torah, and it knows everything, it sees everything, it understands everything.
Yeah, Torah is Yeshua. Yeshua is Jehovah. Jehovah sees everything.
Okay. If you got a scripture that says the words are the eyes of Jehovah, that'd be brilliant. But
they will look at him, the one that they have pierced. Everybody will look at that mountain.
Yeah, that's in Zechariah, but that's again. So I'm just pointing out that this word Golgotha, which I didn't know until today, meant wheels, and I'm kind of just blown away. So here I am in the midst of this cherubim, looking for an abomination. A little hamashit is going to spoil the whole brownie.
When the definitions were being read, it said redeem, and it made me think of Yeshua dying for us.
Yeah. Everything's connected there. It's the word wheels will never be the same to me from now on. It's such a beautiful meaning now. Kurt.
Joe. Good to see you.
I wish I could say the same.
Whatever, I'm shy today. When you look at the words Gimel Vav Lamed, Gimel Lamed, Gimel Lamed in the Strong, or not in the Strongs, but in the
Kleins,
there's a bunch of interesting stuff going on. Like, here's one word. Somehow I found it because it was in what we were looking at. Gimel Vav Lamed Lamed. Stone covering the entrance of a burial cave. Tombstone.
Wow.
Tombstone. Gimel Vav Lamed.
So just hang on, just before you move on from that, Kurt, so everyone knows the tomb. So I'm showing people that this is the crucifixion site here on Golgotha, and that I don't know, 50 feet away from approximately where he was crucified at the crown of the hill. So if you look at my head, this is the round. The flat part on top is the garden where Yeshua used to pray, and he was crucified right here where the hill meets the flat, right at the corner of the head, the rounding of the head. So, but just 50 feet away is a elaborate sepulcher where seven places to lay the dead are. And this is where we believe Joseph of Arimathea laid Yeshua. So that word that Kirk just got there ties right into it.
Yeah,
brown stone.
I sat in front of that doorway.
Yeah. You got any more words there, Kurt?
Well, there's one here, Gimel Vav Yod Lamed, unhewn stone, parchment.
Give me one that says entrance at the left of the tree.
No, it just says a stone covering the entrance of a burial cave. I'd have to, where's the Gilgal? Gimel Lamed. I gotta move a couple pages. Gilgal, where's back here? You can't find Hebrew. You can't read Hebrew quick. Okay, here's one. Gimel Lamed Nun. A person that rolls anything. A roller. Gilgali with a yod. Gimel Lamed yod. Wheel shaped, spherical, circular. Another one with a yod mem on the end. Dual roller skates. Scooter. It's all about wheels. There's a whirl of chaff, a gear wheel, pulley, something ground, something rolled. It's all about rolling. Here's a rolling, revolving. To roll, it's all about wheels. Barbers involved. Revolving door, lever, wave, billow, fountain, spring, heap, pile, mound, ruins, like what you said out of Strong's. So I don't know. I just find a bunch of interesting words here.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So I just wanted to share that with you. That's what I discovered yesterday and last night, this morning. It kind of just blew me away. I never knew what the wheels were. I never understood. And that the fact that they can also mean Golgotha. Just wow. So I'm going to sign off, but you guys carry on. You have a Torah portion that we can still study here.
Joe, I have a question really fast before you go, please.
Yeah.
You and Randy, I believe, went with Becca to a place where these rocks where the giant footprints are. The rocks were in a small, they were in circles where the tabernacle was. I thought that was called Golgotha.
No, it was called Gilgal.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I was mixing up the two. Thank you.
It's called all the places where they set the tabernacle was called the Gilgal site. There's 7 Gilgal sites, so yeah, they might be related. I'm not sure, but they weren't round. They were in the shape of a foot.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Joe, because I was so confused. I was over here scratching my head.
All this reminds me of the ring, the wedding ring, the oath, the going from 7 to 7 to 7.
Yeah, that's all connected in there as well. Yes.
Yep, it all fits.
What do we keep saying here? There's patterns inside patterns inside patterns. And once you start to unlock them, I don't know if it ever ends. It's just so amazing, the ones, how they're all connected.
It's a renewal. It's a constant renewal of your mind.
Yeah. I got in the conversation tonight at supper, it's French, Hebrew, and English. So all 3 languages being spoken at the same time. Oh boy, my head hurt after that. But people they're trying to understand. And then there's some that are just, all they want to do is go pray at some church. But they're trying to understand. There's so many people out there who want to know. So the fact that you guys are learning these things and coming to understand them is amazing. The fact that there's so many of you, that it's wow, it's powerful. So I thank you for being able to do this and allowing me to share this with you and having someone to talk to about these things. So thank you all for that.
So Joe, before you take off, I've got a couple photographs of that sepulcher. I could share if it's because I got a few. It would take me a minute to get it set up because I got to get joined with my other phone, right?
In the meantime, Joe, did you see what Shane said in the chat? Ezekiel 1:21, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels.
Yeah.
Ties right in with what you're showing us. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's all like when you just focus on the scriptures and stop making stuff up, it just makes so much sense how it's all connected. It's really amazing. So the picture that Kurt's going to show you is of the tomb where Yeshua was buried. 50 feet away is the approximate area where he's crucified. We also believe, we don't have any proof, we have one person's word that the ark is buried there. And then about maybe 100 yards. Yeah, 100 yards away, 120 yards away is the the abomination that we're watching being built.
Whoever's the host, can I have screen share on Kurt's phone, please?
I have a close up of that bridge abutment. If anybody wants to see it.
Yeah, let Kurt go first, and then you can show that after.
Yeah, no problem.
You go.
Okay, excellent. Don't ask me to share a whole bunch of pictures because it's cumbersome the way it wants to work. I gotta scroll through them all, so it's painful. I'll find this one. Come on. Come on. Come on. Here. We can do that one. It's coming. Is that the one you're talking about, Joe?
That's the tomb, yeah. So on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, you'll see two openings. Those are catch basins for the water, for cleansing the body. Inside the center one is 7 sepulchres. There's a little bench on either end. The square hole in the middle used to be empty, but then they filled it in with concrete. Now they've taken the concrete back out. But that's where you put all the ancestors' bones from the past and leave them there. You collect all the bones into one spot. The floor is very intricately, it's like a checkerboard pattern. So it's an elaborate tomb. It's not normal to see this type of tomb everywhere. So this is what, I believe is a rich man's tomb, which is Joseph of Arimathea's tomb. You got another one, Kurt, or is that it?
Well, I got lots, but it's just a little, it's not easy. My phone's not talking to my computer. It's just maddening.
Okay, well, if you want to put that together for another day, you can. Shane, you want to show them what you had?
Yeah. All that. What are you guys seeing?
Nothing.
Oh. That's weird.
Trying, and it just didn't go through.
Still nothing?
Still nothing.
It started screen sharing. You just have to wait.
It's thinking.
Oh, that could be. Well, not sure.
Nothing yet.
Computer's been slow for some reason, but
okay. Well, it's not meant to be then.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to sign off. Again, I'm being very quiet about what's going on here, so I just ask you to respect that for a little bit longer. Once I can share it, I will. I'm not trying to be mysterious or discreet. I'm just letting you know what's going on. It's best of my ability. So I will say goodnight. I'm going to go take some more of Anita's medicine. I've been eating persimmons here. That's my vitamin C for now. And I'm just about better, but not quite yet.
Joe, over by the Shook, they have a health food store. You might find some over there.
Yeah, well, okay. The David Tolman's about to begin here. Nothing's going to be open. Come on, it's going to be so crowded.
And Joe, if you've got issues with your lungs, I'm living right in the middle of the fires right now, and the smoke is horrendous. And I was coughing so bad. I got mullein, and that actually really helps to get that mucus out in a natural way instead of medicine. I don't know what you're using, but I thought that might be an addition to what you're already doing.
Persimmons.
What is?
What's a persimmon? It's like an apple that you just eat. Persimmon. Okay, persimmon.
Okay.
Are you staying hydrated? If you got any Celtic salt, just a little tip on your tongue with your water. Yeah. Be sure you get plenty of electrolytes.
I'm good. I'm much better than I was yesterday. So I didn't realize that when I started talking today, my throat would dry up. So other than that, I'm just about there. I'm not coughing as much, not sneezing as much. So I just, chasing all these people all over the countryside ran me down. I'm not 20 anymore. For some strange reason. I don't understand how come that's not working. So,
well, bless you.
Anyway, listen to your sister. Yeah, okay, Kurt, I hear you. Shut up.
And may Father touch you. You need to be touched and take away what the inflammation is in your body. Give you the wisdom to do what's
for you. Keep up the good work.
Yeshua's name.
Shalom, everyone, and
shalom.
Turn it over to Shane or Randy, whoever's looking at it.
Randy's got.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Shalom. Good night.
Shalom.
Hey, brother. Brian, can you go ahead and give us the blessing on the readers? We have Torah portion Deuteronomy 8, 1 Chronicles 3 and 4, and Galatians 5 and 6, and we'll get right after it.
Okay, he who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Jimmy, Kurt, Scott, Ryan, Shane, and Randy, for they have come up to raise the Torah. As a reward for this, may the Holy One, blessed is he, protect them and rescue them from every trouble and distress, from every plague and illness. And may he send blessing and success in their every endeavor, together with all Israel, their brethren. We all respond, Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. All right. This week we have Deuteronomy 8, and we have Brother Jimmy. Maybe. And I concur on that, Mullen. I drink it here. That's good for the lungs. You guys are right on that. Jimmy, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here. What do you want me to read, sir?
Are you ready? We have our Torah portion is what we're doing now. Deuteronomy 8. Pretty please.
Okay. I'll read.
Awesome. Thank you.
I got it. Okay. Every commandment which I command you today, you must be careful to serve or to observe, that you may live and multiply and go into possess the land of which the Lord swore to your fathers. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Okay, and I'm going to stop you right there. Did the first one say all, or did it say some of his commandments? I just wanted to get that clear. Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. Every commandment, every.
Thank you, sir. Carry on. We're ready.
Led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you and to test you, to know that was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. Are you hearing me at all?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm just hearing you, trying to, make sure I have this reading correct. He's supposed to, he purposely humbled to prove us, this God of love. This is the one really talking here, not this mainstream Christianity stuff that I come out. So I appreciate you. You do have a little, in your internet's kind of bad, but keep rolling, sir. You are on verse 3.
Correct. So he humbled you, allowed you to hunger, and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but man lives by every word and proceeds from the mouth of the Lord. Are you there? I'm not sure. I'm something is.
Yes, sir. You're doing great.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let me go to a different version. Maybe I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay. All right. Your garments did not wear out on you, nor did your foot swell. I'm trying it this way. Okay. These 40 years. You should know in your heart that as a man chastens his son, so the Lord your God chastens you. Okay. Therefore, you shall keep the commandments of the Lord your God, to walk in his ways and to fear him. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and springs that flow out of valleys and hills, and the land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land in which you will eat bread without scarcity, in which you will lack nothing, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you can dig copper. When you have eaten and are full, then you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land which he has given you. Be aware that you do not forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commandments, his judgments, and his statutes, which I command you today, lest when you have eaten and are full, you have forgotten and have built beautiful houses and dwell in them. And when your herds and your flocks multiply, and your silver and your gold are multiplied, and all that you have multiplied, when your heart is lifted up, and you forgot the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness, in which were fiery serpents and scorpions and thirsty lands, where there was no water, or brought you for water out of the flint of rock, who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers did not know, that he humbled you, and that he might test you to do good in the end. Then you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have gained me this wealth. And you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, and he who may establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers, as it is this day. Then it shall be, if you by any means forget the Lord your God, and follow other gods, and serve them and worship them, I testify against you this day, that you shall surely perish. Verse 20, as the nations which the Lord destroys before you, so you shall perish, because you would not be obedient to the voice of the Lord your God. That's chapter 8, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right.
What more needs to be said? If there's something going wrong, if there's something in the world that's not, going good with you, I'm thinking that pretty much tells you that you need to be looking to, is there an area that needs to be repented of, So, guys, I don't know what more you could say, except this chapter here just says it all. He's our Father. He corrects us because that's what good dads do. They don't let their kid walk around spoiled, getting away with whatever they want to do. Stop. We serve a good God, and yet we still can't serve him. It's just amazing. What say y'all? Deuteronomy 8.
He has never and will never leave us nor fail us. He always has the right provision at the right time.
Yep. If you have a problem, yourself.
I think it's cut and dry. He provided a land that has everything. He provided an unruly people for 40 years that lacked nothing. Their feet didn't swell. Their clothes didn't wear out. They ate and drank every day. After he tested him, like it just said, it proved him to prove you. You know, you're going to serve me, you're going to serve another God.
Almost kind of reminds me of when you give your children too much, they don't appreciate what they have.
Amen.
That's true. And not just to, you know, to forget verse 18, there's a covenant involved here, whether you want to believe it or not. You know, there is a covenant that was made way back when to our forefathers, which Jehovah's keeping to this day. So, and then you read 20, he says he will destroy, he destroys before your face. So we need to stop blaming somebody else for all this destruction. This is Jehovah's doing.
I hear so much of that right now where I am. I'm in British Columbia, Canada. I'm in Blind Bay, where all the fires are. They're literally completely around me. I can see them all around. My whole living room window is windows, or my whole wall is windows. And everyone around here is talking about the government's doing this, the government's doing that, or the CRT told the firemen to stand down. It's all about what man is doing here instead of looking up to say, well, why is it being allowed to happen in the first place?
Right. Yeah, they're not equating it to, you know, those things are visible, and I see those personally. And but I'm able to see that there's an equation, there's an equal sign in there, and it's disobedience.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Is the issue, and they don't want to see that they're being disobedient. They just want to continue in their disobedience.
They're just seeing the result of what Yahweh's doing, right? Like he's saying, okay, you're going to keep looking to other things for the results, but you're not looking at me that's causing these things. He says that he will bring delusion upon all those who love not the truth. He doesn't say the world will bring delusion. He doesn't say Satan or any kind of anything else is going to, or the governments or anything. He says he will bring it.
Absolutely right.
It reminds me of when they had the movie with the Pharaoh and his advisors tell him when the flies come, it's a natural thing. And, everything that happened, they would sit there and reassure him. And the news does that to us today. The news has all these natural reasons why this and that is happening. Same thing.
People don't believe him. They may believe in him. They don't believe him. And that's the biggest problem I see.
Well, and I think that's why they're also going to believe that it's climate change. And that's the way I think they're going to try and bring in another Sunday Sabbath instead and push that on people.
You want to hear something really interesting? And a friend of mine and I were talking back when the French president met with Kerry. And they were calling out, it's the Paris Agreement to the whole thing. This is how all this stuff began. And they were making a comment that we had 502 days until climate chaos. And they kept mentioning this climate chaos. And so my friend and I are like, what's climate chaos? What's climate chaos? What's that all about? And ironically enough, that 502 days, guess where it landed on? It landed on where the entire world started to pass the gay marriage laws. And what does that say when the nation doesn't follow Father? We won't get our due rain. And then people talk about the geoengineering thing. Well, if we're not getting our due rain from our Abba, they have to cloud seed and arrange the rain. So that was just like such a aha moment when I figured out why they had that specific 502 days and why it was so important that everybody agreed to what they were going to be doing with the geoengineering and such for climate change.
Randy, there's something that comes up for me.
Let's hear it.
Interesting. It's in verse 9. A land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness, thou shalt not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills is dig brass. And whoever read their version was said copper. Well, that's what I saw where I was in the land of Arabia, the land of Median. I saw mountains that those could have been iron stones if you melted them down, but I could certainly see the copper. It's all over the place. There's these green, dark green looking mountains kind of thing. It just reminded me of copper. So I don't know. That's what comes to mind there. I got an image in my head of what.
Just another provision from our creator, commerce. So we can trade, we can, where there is no lacking in this land, but yet we still choose to make a different idol. Come on, people, you stop. What were they thinking?
Well, they blew it, right? And now he sent them a strong delusion, and most will believe that delusion, and we shouldn't be surprised. We're the few that have eyes to see, honestly, and most have gone and believed the delusion.
Us, just like we read in Ezekiel, then we made our own gods, and thinking that we can turn our back on them and do our own little secret thing, but just knowing that Jehovah sees it all. It's just a dumb game we're playing. Okay, I got my cross up on the wall, but when I shut the door, I don't see it no more. Blah, 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 whatever. Just on with my life. It's not this daily taking your cross and, simple test, people.
He says in Ezekiel in 39 places, you will know that I am God. Yeah. He is going to show everybody he is God. In the end, you will see it. We will all know he is God.
So that sounds like a pretty serious bum spank.
And hopefully you get the hint before that 75-pound hellstone is headed your way, because as long as you're upright, there's a chance. But when it's over, it's over. So yeah, I just stay in the word again. That's why I love this place, just because we talk the word. We learn the word here.
Can I ask a few questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't want to interrupt if you had a flow going because I'm new. This is my first day here.
We're just doing Torah, which we talk about what we're reading about. So we kind of stay on subject when it comes to that. So if you want a different direction, then yes, ma'am, we can save that for after the recording, and then it's wide open.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, ma'am. What else do we have? Deuteronomy 8. I'm glad y'all learned your lessons. Well, let's move on then. We have Kurt for 1 Chronicles chapter 3.
3. I'm getting there. I'm going 1 Chronicles 3. Oh boy, it's fun with all the names. We'll see how my Hebrew names go today. Okay, 1 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 1. Now these were the sons of David, which were born unto him in Hebron. The firstborn, Amnon of Ahinoam, the Jezreelitess. The second, Daniel of Abigail, the Carmelitess. The third, Absalom, the son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmaiah, king of Geshur. The fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggath. The fifth, Shephatiah of Abital. The sixth, Ithream by Eglah, his wife. These 6 were born unto him in Hebron, and there he reigned 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years. These were born unto him in Jerusalem, Shemaiah, Shobab, and Nathan, and Solomon, 4 of Bathshua, the daughter of Amiel. Ibhar also, and Elishama, and Eliphalet, and Noga, and Nepheg, and Nephia, and Elishama, and Eliada, and Eliphalet, 9. These were all the sons of David, beside the sons of the concubines, and Tamar, their sister. And Solomon's son was Rehoboam, and Abiah. Oh boy, I'll start over. And Solomon's son was Rehoboam, Abiah his son, Asa his son, Jehoshaphat his son, Joram his son, Ahaziah his son, Joash his son, Amaziah his son, Azariah his son, Jotham his son, Ahaz his son, Hezekiah his son, Manasseh his son, Ammon his son, Josiah his son. And the sons of Josiah were the firstborn of Johanan, the second Jehoiakim, the third Zedekiah, the fourth Shallum, and the sons of Jehoiakim, Jeconiah his son, Zedekiah his son, and the sons of Jeconiah, Asir, Salathiel his son, Malkarim also, and Pedaiah, and Shenazar, and Jechemiah, Hoshama, and Nedabiah. And the sons of Pedaiah were Zerubbabel, Shemiel, and the sons of Zerubbabel, Meshullam, and Hananiah, and Shalomith, their sister, and Hashubah, and Ohel, and Berechiah, and Hazadiah, and Jushab Hesed, 5. The sons of Hananiah, Pelatiah, and Jesiah. The sons of Rephaiah, the sons of Arnan, the sons of Obadiah, the sons of Shechaniah. The sons of Shechaniah, Shemaiah, and the sons of Shemaiah, Hattush, and Egiel, and Bariah, and Neriah, and Shaphat, 6. The sons of Neriah, Eloini, and Hezekiah, and Azrikam, 3. And the sons of Elionai, were Hodiah, and Elishab, and Peliah, and Akub, and Jonan, and Dalaiah, and Anani, 7. Ha! I did it.
Very good, brother. It's a long list. Of course, would you like for your name to be on this list? I guess is the question I would ask for you. Knowing these are the sons of David, so you would be a descendant of David. But remember, he had a curse on him as well, to where the sword would never leave his family. So knowing that your name's on this list, you're just like a target on you, you know. So you were meant to be or could be a king somewhere, somehow. So again, would you like for your name to be on this list? I don't know. So, anybody got something to say about chapter 3?
Well, it's obvious that he had a few wives.
Yeah, you need to be a wealthy man for that, in my opinion.
Isn't there only one place where it says that was his wife? The rest of them were what? Concubines?
Right. There's one mention of it, the word wife is used once.
Yeah, Igla in verse 2. His mother was his wife. The rest of it didn't say that it was a wife, does it?
Right, right. So I just find it interesting. So, well, he must have been well off, like Randy says, because you couldn't have, you know, my idea of marriage is evolving over time a little bit, and I can kind of understand more than one wife at this point. But you have, like he says, you have to be a rich man to be able to do that, and because your responsibilities are multiplied.
Right.
He also married Abigail. Remember that.
That's what I'm
saying. But also remember the wives come with a dowry.
Yeah. In the eyes of Jehovah, marriage is not a piece of paper. It's the act of crossing the threshold.
Right.
I won't get into details. But if you have two or more, you better not diminish them. You need to support them, and you do have to be rich and of a sound mind to do that.
And the firstborn comes from the first wife.
Yes.
So not from your favorite wife. What was that? It was Leah and Rachel. So it was a good example right there. Well, let's go to chapter 4. We have Scott. Scott, will you read that, please?
Yes, it will. First Chronicles 4. The sons of Judah, Perez, Hezron, Carmi, and Shobal. Reahai, the son of Shobal, fathered Jahath, and Jahath fathered Ahume and Lahad. These were the clans of the Zorathites. These were the sons of Etham, Jezreel, Ishma, and Idabash, and the name of their sister was Hazel al-Honi. And Hunel fathered Gedor, and Ezer fathered Hushhan. These were the sons of the firstborn of Ephrathah, the son or the father of Bethlehem. Asher, the father of Tekoa, had two wives, Hilah and Nerah. Nerah bore him Ahuzam, Hefer, Temeni, and Hahashtari. These were the sons of Near. The sons of Hilah, Zereth, Izhar, and Ethnan. Kaz fathered Anub, Zobibah, and the clans of Aharhel, the son of Haram. Jabez was more honorable than his brothers, and his mother called his name Jabez, saying, because I bore him in pain. Jabez called upon the God of Israel, saying, oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my border, and that your hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from harm, so that it might not bring me pain. And God granted what he asked. Chalub, the brother of Shuha, fathered Mihar, who fathered Eshton. Eshton fathered Beth Rapah, Pashi, and Tehanah, the father of Iranash. These are the men of Reka. The sons of Kenza, Othniel, and Sariah. The sons of Othniel, Hath, and Meonothai. Meonothai fathered Ophrah, and Serhi fathered Joab, the father of Ge Harshim, so called because they were craftsmen. The sons of Caleb, the son of Jehunah, Iru, Elha, and Naam, and the son of Alha Kenaz, the sons of Jehel Zipha, Tyra, and Asherel. The sons of Ezra, Jether, Mered, Epher, and Jalon. These are the sons of Bithai, the daughter of Pharaoh, whom Mered married, and she conceived and bore Miriam, Shemai, and Ishva, the father of Eshtemoy, and his Judahite wife bore Jared, the father of Gedor, Heber, the father of Soko, and Jekuthel, the father of Zeno. The sons of the wife of Hodiah, the sister of Naham, were the fathers of Keilah, the Garmite, and Eshtemoy, the Maacathite. The sons of Shimon, Amnon, Rinah, Ben-Hanan, and Tilon, the sons of Ishai, Zoheth, and Ben-Zoheth. The sons of Shalai, the sons of Judah, the father of Leke, Leda, the father of Mershah, and the clans of the house of linen workers at Beth Ashebeh, and Joachim, and the father of Kozeba, and Joash, and Seraph, who ruled in Moab and returned to Lehem. Now the records are ancient. These are the potters who were inhabitants of Netam and Gederah. They lived there in the king's service. The sons of Simeon, Nemuel, Jamin, Jerib, Zerah, and Shaul. Shalom was his son. Mibsam, the son, Mishma, his son. The sons of Mishma, Hamuel, his son, Zakur, his son, Shimei, his son. Shimei had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but his brothers did not have many children, nor did all their clan multiply like the men of Judah. They lived in Beersheba, Moladah, Hazer, Shual, Belhal, Ezem, Tolad, Bethuel, Horma, Ziklag, Beth Marchaboth, Hazar Suzim, Beth Buri, and Sharaim. These were the cities until David reigned. And their villages were Etam, An, Rimmon, Tochen, and Ashen, 5 cities, along with all their villages that were around these cities as far as Baal. These were the settlements, and they kept a genealogical record. Meshobab, Jamlech, Joshua, the son of Amaziah, Joel, Jehu, the sons of Joshua, the son of Sariah, son of Ashiel, Eli, Onai, Jacobah, Jesh, Oea, Asaiah, Adiel, Jeshimiel, Beniah, Ziza, the son of Shiphi, son of Alon, son of Jediah, son of Shimri, son of Shemaiah. These mentioned by name were princes and their clans, and their father's house increased greatly. They journeyed to the entrance of Gedor to the east side of the valley to seek pastures for their flocks, where they found rich, good pasture, and the land was very broad, quiet, and peaceful, for the former inhabitants there belonged to Ham. These registered by name came in the days of Hezekiah, the king of Judah, and destroyed their tents and the Meunites who were found there, and marked them for destruction to this day, and settled in their place, because there was pasture there for their flocks. And some of them, 500 men of the Simeonites, went to Mount Seir, having as their leaders Pelatiah, Neriah, Rephaiah, and Uzel, the son of Ishai. And they defeated the remnants of the Amalekites who had escaped, and they have lived there to this day.
Another hard read. Thank you so much for that, Scott. Great job. Okay, so chapter 4 talks about the descendants of Judah and Simeon. How come not Reuben first? I mean, I thought he was the firstborn. Why would they talk Judah first and then Simeon, leave him out? So, thinking Reuben did something.
Find that out in the next chapter.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the deal there on verse 18, sons of Israel, anyway, while his Jewish wife, are the rest of them not from Judah? Everybody else, where they get their wives? I mean, one was the daughter of Pharaoh, so that'd be from Egypt, I guess. Are these Goyim? Are these of the tribes?
Janet, maybe she has the answer.
I don't have the answer, but the first thing I noticed was Judah had twins, and Zara is not listed there, but Pharez is. And so I guess the point of this chapter and the lineage is pointing us to Christ, since that's the line that he came through. Any other comments about that?
I'm not sure, but don't they consider you being Jewish if you have a Jewish mother? Is the father not considered? I mean, I don't know.
Well, Judah had intercourse with Tamara, and she had twins. And one's name was Pharez, and the other one was Zara. And so this Chronicles starts out with Pharez, but you never see the other sibling, the twin. So, I did a little quick search to see where Zara was listed, and he's only listed in Genesis, I think, if I remember right. So I'm looking at a genealogy chart from Queen Elizabeth, is where I'm noticing, that there's two lines, the Zara line and the Pharez line, which leads to David. And so I think that's the point, maybe, of leaving out Zara, but, not necessarily mother, father, because they were twins.
Interesting. Maybe like Reuben, he wasn't listed first. Maybe they'll pick him up somewhere else.
Well, I find there's a couple other interesting things. Verse 23 says, "These were the potters and those that dwelled among plants and hedges. There they dwelt with the king for his work." I just find that interesting. There's people dwelling among plants and hedges.
They were probably the tenders. They were clipping the hedges when they needed them, weeding, keeping the weeds out of the plants, or trimming back the plants, keeping it looking really nice for the king there. That's my thinking.
And then the complete Jewish Bible that I have, it says they were potters and inhabitants of Nataim and Kederah. They lived there, occupied with the king's work. So that lists places they lived.
So they were making the pottery as well, I guess?
Yeah, they were potters and inhabitants of these two places. Nataim.
Very good.
Yeah, I think the English words probably mislead a guy a little bit. The word for hedge is just by Strong's is enclosure, especially for flocks, sheepcote, fold, hedge, wall. So using hedges of plants to keep their flocks. And plants, it says a place in Palestine. Plants. Maybe they were gardeners. Just interesting words.
Well, down in verse 39, it says, seeking pasture for their flocks, they went to the entrance of Gader, and that's in 23 is Gederah. So I don't know whether it's the same place or not. But the hedges could be, saying that, like you say, they've got them hedges built around their place for their flock.
Right. They go here one day, then they go to the next one over. Keep the ground fresh and give it a break. Right.
Yeah, we get an insight maybe into their agricultural practices or animal husbandry, right?
Well, with sheep, how sheep do it, if you don't actually lead a flock of sheep, they will go back and forth over the same pathways constantly, and they will eat of those same pathways, even if they've defecated on it. So you have to move them so they're always on green pasture. Otherwise, they will keep eating of their own dung.
Good information.
Interesting.
The hedge kind of reminds me when Satan was talking to God in Job, when he said that you've built a hedge about him, like a protection, right?
Right.
Could be the same word.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up.
That's interesting.
Well, I can do that right now. What was the verse that the hedge was in? Which verse was this in this?
Hedges, verse 23.
Okay, I'll look that up.
Chronicles 4:23.
Interesting with sheep, the parasite cycle, you shouldn't have a sheep eat back on the same pasture until 7 weeks is up. If they eat before so from day 1 to the 6th week, the parasite load just gets heavier, and then by the 7th week, you have no parasites. I just think that's kind of neat with the 6 days of creation, 7 days rest.
Very cool. Interesting.
That hedge around Job was the same hedge he puts around all of us if we obey and be righteous. That is part of the covenant. That's his part as a husband. Our part is to obey and do as he says. And when we mind him, he minds us in our needs.
Which brings me back to verse 8, where it says Jabez was more honorable than his brothers, because his mom said he bore him with sorrow. But then you read verse 10, he asked Jehovah for an increase, and it was granted to him. So we serve a living God who hears, and he's a giver. So yeah, absolutely.
So I looked up the word hedges. It's Strong's, the Hebrew Strong's number 1449. It's only in 2 places. It's in Chronicles, 1 Chronicles 4:23 and Joshua 15:36, and it's Gederah there.
So what are the Hebrew letters? Gimel, Dalet.
Oh, just a second.
Resh.
Gimel, Dalet, Resh, Hey.
Dalet, Resh, Hey. Gimel Dalet Resh is to fence in and close Enclosing wall was fenced in. Boasted, was presumptuous, distinguished himself, restrained himself. To pick dates, fence, hedge, enclosure, wall, and Gimel Dalet Resh Hey, fence, hedge, wall, 10-fold of stones. Randy, I saw that. I saw pens made of stones. And for keeping animals in. Wow.
So you think about that. When you're doing a hedge, you're giving the animal.
Your internet's not good, Glenn.
Oh no. That's what they need. You're protecting them. And what's nice is it's comforting and it's peaceful and you're not disturbed. There's no anxiety. That's what it's all about.
Well, the hedge would actually act to be a screen also. Like you wouldn't really be able to see what's out there on the other side if it's a decent hedge. You can't really see through it. It's good protection. So even what's on the inside, you're not fearful because you can't see what's on the outside.
But the other thing is it's a wall. And well, of course, for more primitive animals, it's hard for them to get through. Unless you're a bird or agile enough to get up and over. But it keeps most things out, surprisingly. Because they don't want to go up and over, they want to go around.
And that's exactly what a sukkah is too, and that's the point of a sukkah, is that it's entwined boughs. Like it to me, it's not so different than a hedge. If you pick the right bush to build your sukkah out of, you've got just that. You've got a hedge around you to keep animals out.
Kurt, do you see from the Job 110, the word hedge, I pulled out the Strong's for it, is suk, like sukkah. You see the letters? I put it in the chat.
Well, that's if it's suk, Samik Kaf, or Samik Vav Kaf, maybe.
Yeah.
That's definitely related to Sukkah. Absolutely. And Sukkot.
And it says to entwine. That's something blocking my view here. That something shut in for formation, protection, or restraint. Fence, make a hedge up. And this is from Satan speaking to the Lord about Job.
Well, and then you have to look at the word house that's next to it also, just to get an idea. But it's the same. They're all related.
Did you say you were looking at Job 110?
Yes.
So I see Strong's number 1157. Bedad.
Must be looking at something.
If I can show my screen. I don't know. It's up to you. I don't know if it matters.
Somebody would have to do that.
It says 1157 says it's from 5704 odd. And then it's with preposition preference in, up, or to, or over, against, at, beside, among, behind, for etc. About, at, by, means of, for, over, through, up, and within.
Slightly different word. That's a sheen vav kaf. Different than Samic, but could be related.
Yeah, Beit Shin Dalet.
Defense in, hedge about, thorny branch. Fence in with thorns. Is that why Yeshua had thorns on his head? Hedged in about with thorns. So it's about your hedge. The hedge that's talking about is, you know, like a hawthorn bush. I know what a hawthorn does when you go in after your golf ball.
Oh gosh, yeah. What are the letters again, Kurt? What are the Hebrew letters again?
Shin vav kaf.
That's what I thought you said.
But the suk, as in sukkah, is Samic kaf.
Right. But so you've got something that nails bounds together. So you know it's really close together. It's secure.
But it's
if
still,
that's what your vav is. And then sheen means that it's going to be sharp, but it's almost like a rock. You know, it can be destroyed, but also can mean really solid. So it's a very solid bound together. It sounds to me like you're saying a real thick hedge, and then it's got a head, a final, a back, a horizon. So to me, that's, you know, does it have to really be a plant? That's what I'm asking.
Well, that's what it suggests.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing more like, I'm seeing something that's more like probably man-made than something grown.
Okay, that's interesting, Randy.
Indeed. Anybody else on First Chronicles 3 and 4?
There's a place where in Psalms where he talks about having us hedged in before and behind or something, protecting us, our footsteps.
Think about when we pray for a hedge of protection, we see in our vision like a hedge, you know, that type of thing. But if you think about it, his hedge doesn't even have to be physically seen by us, correct? So there's a lot of facets to this particular one. So it's very, very deep. Very
Well,
deep.
I can tell you that it's not always seen, because that's what I experienced when I went up, headed for the quarry.
Yeah.
I experienced it. There was a hedge, and I don't see it as a barrier. It may have very well been a barrier saying you're not allowed to go there.
Yeah, and I don't mean to
but
say...
it was also the but I see it more as a protection. Like,
yeah,
we would have,
I used the wrong word
we would have
saying
been dangerously
man-made.
dehydrated when we got down.
Yeah, I used the wrong word saying man-made, but when you described the rock and what you couldn't see, but then you could see, and it was something there. That's why I said this is like super deep, and it's hard to get and hard to understand unless you really study it like this. But that's what I'm seeing the more that we look into this. Because if you think about that barrier, that Father, we've all had those moments where we knew we just barely, let's say we couldn't find our car keys and we realized we just missed that car accident. That's kind of a, you know, scenario, but we can understand his hedge of protection. We all have had those moments where we were at the right place at the right time. And
even when we thought we were in the wrong spot.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it was the rod to shove us in the right direction. It was painful, but there was that deep lesson that came from that painful time to put us where we were supposed to be. So that's where I see this. This is where I see this particular, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
Just
kind
like
of
you
what I was
said.
trying to get at with the Job saying, where, he said, you've put a hedge around Job, and God said, well, I'll remove it, but just don't kill him. And then all of a sudden everything started to happen to him, right? So that protection was taken away from him, because he was saying, well, that's why Job praises you and loves you, is because you put a hedge around him. He's got no reason not to.
And this is so deep, because I think about that so much, Candy, in my own life and things that I like see. That is your name, right?
Yep.
Okay. So one of the things that I have noticed throughout my life, I'm 62, and if we just go through those times that we have been, keeping his commands, and those times that maybe we lived life, in a darker place. And we think about those times, and we think about our life experiences, and then we apply this scripture, and you talk about Job. I believe that there are times that we do things that open up that hedge. We ourselves open up the doorway to the hedge that put us in danger. So, and it's through sin and stepping away. I used to think as a child, I mean, literally, I'm going to turn on my camera. And this is before he really called me to like really keep his commands. But I used to always tell everybody, okay, here's the Messiah, and we're right here when we're keeping his commands. But then every time that we're doing something wrong, we're stepping away from him. And like there's layers. And I'm a very visional person, and that's just how I always thought about it. And I think about what we're saying pretty much the same way. We can do something like in Job, the book of Job, and this is just my understanding, my speculation here, but I feel like the open door with Job was his family, the celebration they were doing of the birthdays. And so my family doesn't do, I mean, we'll acknowledge everybody, but we don't make a big party. Nobody gets drunk. Nobody has, those kinds of things. So, I mean, having a couple beers or something is fine, but I'm just saying those are the kind of things that I think can open up that hedge that he's got there to protect us when we're keeping his command.
It's like when we're told to clean our house, right? And then if we don't keep it clean, 7 more spirits will come back in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the further away, like you were doing your demonstration, the further away we walk, it's like a child walking away from its parents in a busy area. It can be snatched away because we're not under that protection anymore. Good visual.
Kurt was saying, Kurt, you had a deep feeling to not go, right? There's something inside you.
Yeah, there was a, I don't know, I recognized the wall, but I've gone far enough, and turn around and go back the other way.
Yeah.
But it was more than, I don't know, can't describe it.
When you say you can't describe it, that right there is powerful. Because it is an unexplained feeling.
There was a wall that I recognized, and it was time to turn around and go back. I'd gone far enough, and maybe it was just my better judgment kicking in, saying you've only got so much water, you're not going to have enough. But I doubt I was doing the math at that time.
But you didn't feel fearful. It wasn't an inner fear or anything. It was just like, no, don't do that.
No, I wasn't shaking in my boots saying I better not go any further.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Nothing like that.
Eric, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to comment about that one individual that was cleansed and that demon was cast out. The casting out of a demon can only be done by God. But what God won't do is he will not inhabit a vessel unless he's invited. So the reason why it's kept clean is because that person that was cleansed of that demon never asked God to come in. When the demon returns, it's still empty and swept. But the reason why the condition of that person is 7 times worse is now he comes back, that person has not accepted or asked God to come in and dwell in their heart. Now it's still swept and clean. Now that demon will inhabit that person again. So it's like the cleansing has to be done by God. But if you do not ask God to come in, he won't. He won't force himself on anyone.
That's
So
like what we see today. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but like, for example, when the king gave his oath, when he had his ceremony, he gave an oath to everybody. But the oath is actually not he's not bound by the oath unless you actually accept the oath. Like if you write a letter to the king, which my son and I have done, accepting his oath and binding him to it, that's an accepting of his oath, that he will then have that protection over you and he will actually stand to that oath. But unless you've accepted the oath, like with God, unless you accept the oath that he's given you, he's not bound to you by it. And because you haven't accepted it as being your covering, your protection.
But the thing is, if your blood Israel, which was at Mount Sinai, all their offspring is bound by the oath they took. So if you're not keeping it, even if you didn't personally say you would or wouldn't, you're under the curses for not keeping it. And that's proven in the Torah as well.
Yeah, unto all generations, right? Or the third and fourth generation, yeah.
Well, and each generation has to accept the same king that they wanted.
Actually, it goes in perpetuity.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah,
he
it
says,
goes in perpetuity.
Yeah, he says, if you keep my commandments, I'll show mercy to thousands of generations. But each individual person still has to accept the gift that's given. If I don't accept Yeshua as being my king.
But if you don't, you're subject to the consequences.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because each individual person has to make that declaration that they accept him as their king. If I don't accept him as him being my king, I'm not under any of the covenants at all.
That's what I'm saying. You are if you're blood at Israel, and I can show you that to you. I don't know the verse. I'll look it up and I'll show it to you. It actually says, for those here today and not here today, when he's talking about the covenant.
Right, but every person has to make a choice. That's why Moses put it before him. Life or death, blessing or curses. Each individual person has to make that choice.
But what I'm saying is they're for the relatives of those people at the bottom of the mountain. And if you're related as an Israelite, blood Israelite, whether you know it or not, you're subject to it. And if you don't keep it, you get the curses first before anybody else.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You're subject to it.
And that makes so much sense. Have you ever said, geez, everybody gets away with all this stuff, and the one little thing I do wrong, I get caught every time?
Well, the Israelites were always held more accountable. So like when the Philistines captured the Ark of the Covenant, they were doing all kinds of things with it, and God didn't have a problem with that. The minute that David got a hold of it and tried to move it on the ox cart, Uzzah died. Because David knew what he was supposed to do and how he's supposed to carry the Ark of the Covenant. The Philistines didn't know that, and they didn't die. So your level of intimacy with God is dependent on what kind of punishment you're going to get. So he held David more accountable because he was a king and he's required to write the Torah. And God had higher expectations of, you don't put the Ark of the Covenant on an ox cart. You carry it on man's shoulders.
So in other words, he knew better, but the others didn't necessarily know better.
No, the Philistines did. Yeah, the Philistines didn't know anything at all about how they were supposed to do it. But God then allowed them to carry the ark, put it on an ox cart with two cows that just had calves, and said, okay, let's see if this is the true God. They'll go back to Israel and carry the ark back with them.
But
Yeshua said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
But they had the curses of terrible luck or whatever. The God kept falling down in the room they had stored the ark in.
Right, he was coming after their
got fed up. Yeah, they just said, get it out of here.
Right, they also had problems with not being able to go to the bathroom, and they had hemorrhoids. So there's a lot of things that were coming on. But what he was trying to get them to do in a nice way, a very nice way, was the ark doesn't belong here. send it back. And eventually they did exactly what God wanted them to do.
Right.
But once they did it, that curse that he had brought upon them went away. But the minute that the Israelites got it and they looked into the Ark of the Covenant, 50,000 died on one day. That didn't happen to the Philistines.
Right, exactly.
So to me, your level of intimacy that you have with God, like some people were asking last week, should we be doing communion? Well, it depends on what level you're at. If you're ignorant that what you should be doing is Passover and you're doing communion until God opens up your eyes. Now, at that point, is God going to hold you more accountable? I think he will.
To whom much is given, much is expected.
Well, if you're given the knowledge, and that's one of the things that program called The Chosen, basically, I think it was one of his, I don't know if it was Ishmael that was talking to Abraham, but he basically said, how did you know this revelation of God? He says, one day my eyes were open and I knew. And I think that happens to each one of us individually, depending on where you're at in your walk. Once God gives you the revelation of who he is, like Pharaoh on the 7th plague, I believe it was, Pharaoh finally said, you are righteous and we are sinners. At that point, God says, okay, now that you know who I am, be careful of the decisions you make after this, because now I'm going to hold you accountable. So anyways, I was just bringing that up, that the cleansing of that house is done by God. If you do not ask God to come into your heart, he will not do it. If you do not ask him to come in, he won't fill that space. And kind of like what also Glenn was saying, now you're wide open to anything that wants to come along and fill you in. So right now, the United States is pulling away from worshiping the one true living God. What are the spiritual forces now that are going to come in and take his place? Because we're going to worship something. We are designed to worship something. If we're not going to worship the one true living God, we'll worship the green God. We'll worship the money God. We'll worship, we're gods. Whatever that is, whatever comes in, we'll worship the same gods where they used to take boys and turn them into girls, and girls turn them into boys, and they would become priests unto that God. All these things that are going on right now with this transgenderism is going back to what it used to do before when they didn't worship, when the nations worshiped these false gods. That's what they did. This is the kind of stuff they did. We're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's probably not going to end well.
Nope.
Like in the days of Noah, right? And Canada is so prevalent with that as well. This transgender thing is massive in the schools now. With not even, it's now considered a crime for a parent to even speak back against the schools teaching their kids that they can choose whichever gender they want to be. And it's also a crime now in Canada for a parent to step in and say, no, my child can't take medicine to change their sex.
Doesn't surprise me.
It's different in Saskatchewan. We just had a law passed. The premier said that the kids have to have permission slips to attend sex ed of any kind.
Oh, good.
And I was so happy to see that come in.
That's good.
Shall we move on to Galatians 5 and 6? We have Ryan. Galatians 5, please.
All right, sure thing. Galatians 5. What the Messiah has freed us for is freedom. Therefore, stand firm and don't let yourselves be tied up again to a yoke of slavery. Mark my words, I shall tell you that if you undergo Brit Milah, the Messiah will be of no advantage to you at all. Again, I warn you, any man who undergoes Brit Milah is obligated to observe the entire Torah. So they're talking about circumcision. You You who are trying to be declared righteous by God through the legalism have severed yourselves from the Messiah. You have fallen away from God's grace, for it is by the power of the Spirit who works in us, because we trust and are faithful, that we confidently expect our hope of attaining righteousness to be fulfilled. When we are united with the Messiah Yeshua, neither being circumcised nor being uncircumcised matters. What matters is trusting faithfulness, expressing itself through love. You were running the race well. Who has stopped you from following the truth? Whatever means of persuasion he used was not from the one who calls you. It takes only a little hametz to leaven the whole batch of dough. I am confident that since you are united with the Lord, you will take no other view, and I am confident that the one who has been disturbing you, whoever he may be, will have to bear his punishment. And as for me, brothers, if I am still preaching that circumcision is necessary, why am I still being persecuted? If that were the case, my preaching about the execution stake would cause no offense whatever. I wish the people who are bothering you would go the whole way and castrate themselves. For brothers, you were called to be free. Only do not let that freedom become an excuse for allowing your old nature to have its way. Instead, serve one another in love. For the whole of the Torah is summed up in this one sentence: love your neighbor as yourself. But if you go on snapping at each other and tearing each other to pieces, watch out, or you will be destroyed by each other. What I am saying is this: run your lives by the Spirit. Then you will not do what your old nature wants. For the old nature wants what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit wants what is contrary to the old nature. These oppose each other, so that you find yourselves unable to carry out your good intentions. But if you are led by the Spirit, then you are not in subjection to the system that results from perverting the Torah into legalism. And it is perfectly evident what the old nature does. It expresses itself in sexual immorality, impurity, and indecency, involvement with the occult and with drugs, in feuding, fighting, becoming jealous, and getting angry, in selfish ambition, fashionalism, intrigue, and envy, in drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. I warn you now, as I have warned you before. Those who do such things will have no share in the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, humility, self-control. Nothing in the Torah stands against such things. Moreover, those who belong to the Messiah Yeshua have put their old nature to death on the stake, along with its passions and desires. Since it is through the Spirit that we have life, let it also be through the Spirit that we order our lives day by day. Let us not become conceited, provoking, and envying each other.
Thank you, Ryan. Man, I like that translation. What was you reading, by the way?
This is the Complete Jewish Study Bible by David Stern.
Thank you for that.
What I like here is verse 23. Nothing in the Torah stands against such things, reverting right back to the law.
It gives you a laundry list of stuff that you will not inherit the kingdom. And then he gives you, again, we'll know them by their fruit, right? We can see it in them. So there's the fruit of the Spirit. It's a good, we got to check ourselves. There's your list to check it right there. Are you loving? Are you joyful? Are you creating peace? Just go down the list.
When it's talking about the circumcision, it's not saying that you don't need to do it, but it's not going to bring salvation if you do.
Right.
That's the issue.
That's a good point, because wasn't it Simon that was told to continue to the circumcision, not Simon Peter, but the other Simon? But that was just for the Jews. It wasn't for everybody else. Yet anyone that comes under the covering is protected, right? Not just the circumcised. It's the circumcision of heart now, right?
Yeah, I think circumcision is still necessary.
Well, both. I get that. I'm not saying one is obsolete. I'm just saying in the comparison of the two.
And Paul he's calling out the troublemakers in this chapter. So, and I can say without just nobody coming to mind, we have no troublemakers in this group. So I just appreciate y'all coming here and loving everybody every week. You know, it's that little leaven, just one little. You know, it's hamashik. You know, that's the word that's thrown around. We can't mess up the brownie mix. You know, we got to rely on each other. We got to confess one to another. So, you know, we're not being called out like this right here, like Paul. He's calling this guy out. Whoever is the troublemaker, what's he saying? Anybody preaching another gospel, let him be accursed. You know, so we can't be in here teaching two or three different ideas. We teach Torah, we talk Torah. So love you guys for it. Brian.
Yeah, I was just looking at those 8 gifts of the fruit of the Spirit, which we all know quite well. If you look back in Exodus 34, was it verses 6 and 7, regarding the 13 attributes of God. I'll read those, and I'm going to read the fruit of the Spirit again. The 13 attributes of God says, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering, abounding in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin. You get the attributes of God, and you put that in light of the fruit of the Spirit. You've got, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And like you're saying, against such there is no law. So practicing and trying to model these and walk in the fruit of the Spirit is also walking in the attributes of God and being like him and walking as he would want us to walk with him. So it's interesting to see that correlation. Not all of them mirror word exactly, but the spirit of those attributes are very similar in both categories.
Awesome, thank you.
What chapter was that?
5.
That was Exodus 34, verses 6 and 7.
Thank you.
34. Yeah.
Anybody else? Shane, you have 6.
Yes, sir. Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Brothers, if a man is overtaken in a fault, you, the spiritual ones, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so you will fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks himself to be something, being nothing, he deceives himself. But let each one prove his own work, excuse me, and then he alone will have a boast in himself and not in another. For each one will bear his own load, but let him who is taught in the word share with the one teaching in all good things. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for whatever a man sows, that he also will reap. For he sowing to his flesh will reap corruption from the flesh, but he sowing to the Spirit will reap life everlasting from the Spirit. But we should not lose heart in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we do not faint. So then, as we have time, let us work good toward all, especially toward those of the household of faith. See in what large letters I write to you with my hand. As many as desire to look well in the flesh, these compel you to be circumcised, only lest they should suffer persecution from the cross of Christ. For they themselves, having been circumcised, do not even keep the law, but they desire you to be circumcised, so that they may boast in your flesh. But may it never be for me to boast, except in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom the world is crucified to me, and I to the world. For in Christ Jesus neither circumcised has any strength, nor uncircumcision, but a new creation. And as many as walk according to this rule, peace, mercy be upon them, and upon the Israel of God. For the rest, let no one give troubles to me, for I bear in my body the brands of the Lord Jesus. Brothers, the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you in spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Shane.
Welcome.
What does it mean he bore the brands of Yeshua? Paul's even, he admitted he's been whipped multiple times, 39 lashes at a time. He was shipwrecked. I don't believe Yeshua was shipwrecked, but he was
stoned.
He was stoned. That's it, Clay. And why did Paul have to write in such big letters? Because he had a hard time seeing after being hit in the face with rocks. So he was left for dead outside the city. But yet Paul knew didn't matter what happened to his body. I'm going to get right back up. If you're going to kill me, it doesn't matter. One day I'm coming back. So
he actually says, thank you for bearing with my, I'm going to paraphrase, my looks, because he probably looked terrible.
Right.
As Yeshua was totally, what's the word? A misshapen in his face beyond any man had ever been. You couldn't recognize him. And same thing with that disciple.
Yeah, with Paul, I don't think, I don't deny that he was stoned, beaten, but I think part of his problem was after he was blinded on the road to Emmaus, that he did not totally receive his sight. That's what I take from that, because he actually says to them at one point, I know you'd give me your eyes if you could.
How come he couldn't just be forgiven and forgotten of all these things that Paul evidently did in his life that he's having to be whooped and persecuted for? How come he just, then we just read, every man will, what's it say? You reap what you sow. I mean, so things happened in Paul's life that he was still responsible for, that he had to pay an ultimate price for? Or
He'd caused a lot of problems. So that he was reaping, like you say, what he'd sown, the consequences of his previous behavior.
Did he suffer eye for an eye?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about here?
I don't know necessarily.
Well, he also murdered.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. So he killed people, but he was probably pretty close to dead himself.
Eventually killed. How was he killed? Ultimately.
Okay.
By the Emperor of Rome, right? That's who killed him.
He was beheaded, as far as they say.
Thank you. But he went down fighting. Paul got changed. That road, yes, I had my road experience. Come on, man. I saw the light myself. So.
Paul said, "I fought the good fight." I mean,
that's it, man. He opened his eyes, and he accepted it. Right.
It's a battle. It really is. It's a day-to-day battle. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers in the air. it's a spiritual battle, and it's a fight. It really is you have to wake up each day and say the Shema and say, pray to the living God to give us strength for that day. It's a day-to-day battle. Paul fought the good fight, like we are to exemplify and follow his paths. And
you got to have the right attitude. Exactly. That's most of it.
Right. So he tested him, right? That's what he says. Just
if you go into battle,
know if you love me or not.
If you go into battle thinking you lost, or are you going to lose? Well, you've already lost already. There's no point in even getting out of bed. Then you gotta declare yourself a winner. There's
Nancy.
I just feel like it's better for us to suffer here for our sins. And we look at people, but it's better for them to suffer during their life, like, even like with Paul, than to take it to your grave. And that's why we shouldn't be afraid to warn others, no matter the rejection that we might feel. Always speak up for the truth.
But in the end, they're all going to have the
right.
I missed what Glenn said. Did anyone else hear it?
I think we lost him on the internet for a minute.
Okay.
He's having problems where he's at. Storm there.
I see. Okay.
He's in New Hampshire.
Same message. They're all going to get direction. You're going to know him suffering forever. The rest of us don't. We all have a chance in the plan at some point or another.
We heard you, brother. Thank you, Glenn. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, one of the things I'm looking at here in verse 2, which says, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. When anybody in church tomorrow morning, they're going to be saying that the law has been done away with, and they're reading Galatians. What do they do when they come to this law, when it speaks of the law of Christ, if the law has been done away with? So there's some answers that they're not seeing or they're not looking for. If you understand, bear one another's burdens, that's explained what the law of Christ is. It actually is explained back in Deuteronomy 10:16. Deuteronomy 10:16 says, therefore circumcise the foreskin of your heart and be stiff-necked no longer. So if you're stiff-necked, you can't look to the left or right to see that if anyone's got a burden next to you that you need to help them with. So if you've got a circumcised heart, you can turn to the left and turn to the right, and spiritually and sometimes in the natural, look and see that there are people that are in need, that the law of Christ is there to feel compassion for others. You have to feel the sympathy for others that are going through struggles and bear one another's burdens, just as it says there at the beginning of verse 2. So there's a law of Christ that I think a lot of people look over, that it's just a very simple thing of kindness and compassion, just like the fruit of the Spirit we just talked about, kindness, goodness, gentleness. All those things further apply now into the law of Christ.
I've had people say that to me too, like use that almost as an excuse to not keep the lie anymore. I'm thinking of a specific experience as well, where I was talking to someone about this back when I first ran into Joe Dumond's website 8 years ago, and I was actually in a church at that time, and I was trying to explain to her that we aren't supposed to do away with the law. Yeshua said, think not that I came to do away with the law, but to fulfill it. And her response to me was, well, he gave us new laws, and there was only 2 of them. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And I tried to explain to her that, well, what does it mean to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul? Would that be the first 5 commandments? And what about the love one another as yourself? Would that not be the rest of them? Maybe that's him summing up the law, because he says the law hangs on these 2.
Exactly.
And she couldn't hear it.
Yeah, it's not just those two, but all the other commandments hang on those two. They stop.
That's what I mean. Like all of God's commandments, precepts, all of that hangs on those two. But she couldn't see it at all. And it's
sometimes you got to read all the way to the period of the sentence before you can understand what it's trying to say. And if you stop halfway through the sentence, then you're missing it.
Yeah,
exactly right.
This is why I like this complete Jewish study Bible, because in chapter 6, verse 2, mine says, bear one another's burdens. In this way, you will be fulfilling the Torah's true meaning, which the Messiah upholds.
That words it even better. That's really good. Yeah.
What was that Bible called?
Complete Jewish.
This is a complete Jewish study Bible. It's like illuminating the Jewishness of God's word. So after the many Bibles I've been through, I found this one. There's a lot of inserts about the Sabbath. It's right along what we do. And I just found this one to be more closer to my walk and how I can relate to it. And it just throws steps out there, just like this verse 2 right here, with the fulfilling of the Torah's true meaning, which the Messiah upholds. Right there, it tells you that the Messiah is the Torah, just walking, living, breathing Torah.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You have, Brian?
And Ella, thanks for holding it up.
That's the same one that you have?
No, here, I'll
Mine doesn't say study Bible on it. Here's by Stearns. David Stern.
Yeah. Mine's by Stern.
Yeah, mine is. Yeah. Yours, you said study Bible. Mine doesn't say study Bible. It's the same. You may have more explanations in it, but this does use Yeshua, I think. Let's see. Let me go back and look. I don't remember.
What? Excuse me, but what address are we talking about? Scripture reference number?
6:2.
Galatians 6:2?
Yeah.
Galatians 6:2.
What is the law of Christ? It's go to John 13, verses 14 and 15. If then I, the Lord and the teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. So bear one another's burdens.
Yep. And washing feet would be a very humbling experience,
Yes.
Yeah. And of service, like, because you're washing off. You walk the streets of Jerusalem. There's nothing clean there. So to wash someone's feet, to get that filth on you, right?
And how much worse was it in the time of Yeshua, with the animals walking the streets and no paved roads, and maybe even sewage water maybe dumped out, or garbage on. Who knows how people lived in certain areas, but you've definitely got dirty roads back then. So much more humbling to wash feet back then than now, because most of us wear shoes. We keep ourselves relatively clean. Can't speak for all of us. So.
Yeah, and we show up for Passover with clean feet, right? We've bathed and we're all clean, but the service of washing someone's feet when they come in from a journey or something.
I remember 8 years ago.
The significance of it.
Yeah, I remember 8 years ago when I had first kept the Passover, and it was just about to be a sabbatical year then, and we did the washing of the feet. I had a big soaker tub, and me and my two sons sat around the edge of it, and we washed each other's feet around it. And my oldest son said to me that this was a really neat experience, because their whole lives I've always taken care of them, and here he was washing my feet, and he just felt really I forget the wording he used, but it was just a totally different experience to care for me back for someone who's cared for him his whole life. And because he just saw that switching of a role there.
But just let you know that washing of the feet is not considered part of the Passover Seder. That was part of the Last Supper. You can see in John, but
true.
Passover Seder does not incorporate washing your feet. Matter of fact, the only thing that Passover Seder requires is wine, unleavened bread, and bitter herbs. Everything else is all traditional, man-made, added to, a lot of tradition in there.
Yeah, I'm still very new at it. I was then and got stepped away, and I'm now back. So I'm going to definitely be relying on you guys for a little bit of guidance. Get it right.
The washing of the feet is a good idea. It's very humbling, very.
Well, it's part of meeting together, but it's not part of. It's certainly part of what happened, right? Not at Passover, but actually.
I remember Yeshua washed everybody's feet. Was it the preparation day?
Well, the fast of the firstborn is what that's called. I'm sure we'll be getting into that subject at some point in the future.
Yeah.
Where are we going to next, Randy? Are we done?
That's it for Galatians. So if we're done with that, we can wrap up the recording. And then we can really talk about some stuff. Anybody else have anything in Galatians? Okay. What that was?
Did you say stop the recording, Randy?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let me start it back up. Hold on. Sorry about that.